The world is full of secrets, ancient whispers buried in the earth, waiting to be uncovered. For centuries, humanity has stared at strange relics, perplexing monuments, and cryptic texts, questioning their origins, their purpose, and what they might reveal about our distant past. But some mysteries defy even the sharpest minds. How did an entire civilization vanish without a trace? What could have driven ancient peoples to create objects and structures that modern technology still can't replicate? Join us as we embark on a journey through 3 hours of bizarre and unexplained archaeological puzzles that continue to haunt the minds of scholars and dare us to uncover the truths they've hidden. Nestled within the undulating hills of what is now known as Palestine, the ruins of Monkodonja stand as silent sentinels, guarding secrets that stretch back millennia. A forgotten city, hidden for centuries beneath layers of soil and time, Monkodonja's purpose, origin, and ultimate fate remain largely shrouded in mystery. The site, situated near the western coast of Palestine, holds the remnants of a once thriving settlement, a place that has confounded historians and archaeologists alike since its rediscovery. The ruins themselves are enigmatic. Stretching across an expanse of rocky terrain, the foundations of ancient walls rise from the earth like weathered skeletons, their stones meticulously arranged in a manner that suggests both sophistication and purpose. Among the most striking features of Monkodonja are the massive defensive walls that encircle the site, built with an advanced level of engineering for their time. These walls are not merely rudimentary stone structures. They are carefully constructed, crafted to resist both time and invaders. The fact that they remain standing after over 2,000 years is a testament to the craftsmanship of those who built them. It is widely believed that Monkodonja flourished during the Iron Age, around the 10th century BC, a period when the region was a crossroads for trade and conflict. Its strategic location, overlooking fertile land and vital trade routes, suggests that the settlement was once an important center of commerce and culture. However, despite its significance, Monkodonja's history is a shadowy one, with little concrete evidence to piece together the puzzle of its rise and fall. Archaeologists have uncovered a wealth of artifacts at the site: pottery, tools, and fragments of statues, each offering glimpses into the daily lives of the people who once inhabited the city. Yet, there are strange aspects to these finds that raise more questions than answers. The pottery, for example, exhibits a level of craftsmanship that is remarkable for its time, yet there are stylistic elements that do not appear to belong to any known cultural tradition of the period. Was Monkodonja a melting pot of cultures, or was it a unique civilization with influences from far beyond the boundaries of Palestine? Equally perplexing is the absence of written records. No inscriptions have been found, no tablets bearing the names of rulers or gods. In an age where most cities left behind some form of written communication, Monkodonja remains eerily silent. Could this absence of written language point to a deliberate effort to erase the city's identity? Or was it simply a society that did not rely on written words in the same way others did? Was Monkodonja an anomaly in a region where written records were the foundation of civilization? As researchers delve deeper into the site, more puzzling discoveries emerge. Beneath the layers of the city's foundations, they have found evidence of fire, as though the city had been destroyed in a catastrophic event. Yet, unlike other ancient cities that were subjected to sieges or invasions, there is no clear evidence of warfare or destruction by outside forces. The question remains: was this a natural disaster, an internal collapse, or something more inexplicable? One of the more speculative theories surrounding Monkodonja is that it may have been linked to the ancient sea peoples, mysterious marauders who appeared on the eastern Mediterranean coast around the same time. Could the city have been built by, or for, these enigmatic people? Some even suggest that Monkodonja could have been a refuge for survivors of a much older, more advanced civilization, one lost to history, its memory obscured by time. Yet no matter how many theories are proposed, the core of the mystery remains untouched. What caused Monkodonja to disappear from history? Was it the collapse of a great civilization, or was it simply abandoned for reasons we may never fully understand? Some believe that the answers may lie hidden in the untold corners of the site, waiting for new technology or an unexpected breakthrough to bring them to light. Others wonder if the city's true story may never be known, perhaps a victim of time's relentless erasure. For now, Monkodonja stands as it always has, a puzzle that defies easy explanation. And as we continue to explore its secrets, one question persists. How many more ancient cities like Monkodonja remain, waiting to be uncovered, waiting to reveal their hidden truths? As we shift our focus from the forgotten city of Monkodonja, another ancient mystery emerges, this time from the heart of Europe, a site that, much like Monkodonja, seems to possess the same air of quiet enigma, hinting at a past beyond the reach of conventional history. We now travel to the rolling hills of western France, where the Tumulus of Bougon stands, a monument to a long-lost world. Here, beneath the earth, lies an ancient burial site, one of the oldest and most complex of its kind in Europe. Yet, like many sites that predate written history, it raises more questions than answers. The Tumulus of Bougon is not merely a burial mound. It is an intricate network of tombs, collectively known as a tumuli, constructed thousands of years ago, around 4,500 BC during the Neolithic period. These burial structures, clustered together near the small town of Bougon in the Poitou-Charentes region, were built by a society that left little trace in the historical record. The tumulus itself consists of massive stone walls, carefully arranged to form long, narrow chambers beneath the earth. Each chamber, believed to house the remains of the dead, is surrounded by stones and covered by earth, forming the distinctive mounds that characterize the site. What makes the Tumulus of Bougon so remarkable is the sheer scale and sophistication of its design. The stones used to construct the tombs are not native to the immediate area but were transported from miles away, suggesting a level of organization and effort that must have required considerable social coordination. The tombs are also aligned with great precision, hinting at a deep understanding of geometry and possibly even the stars. There are 5 main tumuli at Bougon, each varying in size, with some of the chambers large enough to accommodate multiple burials. The site is not just a collection of graves. It is a testament to a civilization that, despite leaving behind no written language, understood the importance of remembering the dead, and possibly something more. When archaeologists first excavated Bougon in the 19th century, they uncovered an array of intriguing artifacts, pottery, stone tools, and even the remains of what appeared to be ceremonial objects. These artifacts suggest that the people who built Bougon were not only skilled craftsmen, but also had complex spiritual beliefs, perhaps worshipping deities or spirits associated with death and the afterlife. But while the objects found at the site offer glimpses into the culture of the time, they do not reveal why this site, of all places, became the focus of such elaborate burial practices. One of the most puzzling elements of Bougon is the construction of the tumulus itself. How did the people of this era manage to transport such massive stones, some weighing several tons, without the wheel or advanced technology? The sophistication of the burial site suggests that its creators were not simply primitive hunter-gatherers. Rather, they were capable of organizing large-scale projects, possibly even possessing knowledge of construction techniques that we might associate with much later periods in history. Were these early people perhaps in contact with other advanced cultures? Or is it possible that they were the inheritors of knowledge passed down from a forgotten civilization? Some archaeologists have proposed that Bougon may have served as more than just a burial ground. It may have been a site of ritual significance, a place where the dead were honored in a manner that transcended the simple act of burial. Could these tombs have been designed not only to preserve the bodies of the deceased, but to ensure their safe passage into an afterlife? Was the tumulus a place where the living sought to commune with the spirits, to ensure the prosperity and protection of their community? Yet, while there are many plausible theories about the significance of Bougon, there are still more questions than answers. For example, the arrangement of the tombs, 5 distinct mounds, each a monument unto itself, could imply a hierarchical structure within the society that built it. But who were these people, and what drove them to construct such an imposing monument? Some scholars speculate that the tumuli could have been the burial site of a powerful elite or a ruling class, while others suggest that the burial site was a more communal effort, with each tomb representing a different family or tribe. There are even fringe theories that propose a ritualistic or astronomical purpose to the alignment of the tombs, suggesting that the positioning of the mounds might have been tied to celestial events or seasonal cycles, though this remains purely speculative. The absence of written records at Bougon complicates any definitive interpretation. Unlike the Egyptians or the Sumerians, who left behind hieroglyphs and cuneiform to provide insight into their beliefs and practices, the builders of the Tumulus of Bougon left no such clues. What were their religious beliefs? What did they hope to achieve with such a grand construction? Were the tumuli meant to honor a single great leader, or were they collective efforts meant to ensure the community's place in the afterlife? Even the date of the site raises more questions than it answers. Bougon dates back to a time before the rise of monumental civilizations in the Mediterranean and near the beginning of what we know as the Neolithic period. How then did this society acquire the knowledge to build something so sophisticated? The period in which it was constructed, at least 6,500 years ago, suggests that the builders were among the first to settle in permanent structures. Yet their engineering skills appear far more advanced than what one might expect from a society transitioning from nomadic life to settled agriculture. Was the knowledge of such monumental construction techniques passed down from even older, more advanced cultures? Or was the Tumulus of Bougon the result of an isolated and unique cultural development? For now, the Tumulus of Bougon stands as one of those rare, ancient enigmas, a testament to the ingenuity of a civilization long lost to history. With no written language and little in the way of direct evidence, the true purpose and significance of this site remain unknown. Was it merely a burial ground, or was it a place of ritual, of cosmic alignment, of power? The answers may lie somewhere beneath the stones and earth, waiting for a future discovery, or perhaps they are lost forever. As we walk away from Bougon's silent mounds, we are left to ponder the most persistent question of all. What is it about these ancient sites that continues to fascinate us, and what might still be hidden beneath the surface, waiting to reveal its story? As we leave the quiet, enigmatic mounds of Bougon behind, our journey takes us across the vast expanse of the Americas, to a location that holds its own mystery, one deeply entrenched in the very heart of ancient Mesoamerica. Here, hidden beneath the sprawl of modern-day Mexico City, lies the Cuicuilco Circular Pyramid, a monument that has perplexed archaeologists for centuries. Unlike the angular, imposing pyramids of Egypt or the stepped pyramids of the Maya, Cuicuilco is unique, its circular form setting it apart as an anomaly in the ancient world. But what makes this ancient site truly remarkable is not just its shape. It's the uncertainty that surrounds its creation, its purpose, and ultimately, its abrupt abandonment. The Cuicuilco Pyramid, dating back to around 800 BC, sits in what was once the thriving heart of the ancient city of Cuicuilco, one of the oldest urban centers in Mesoamerica. From above, the pyramid's circular structure forms a stunning visual, a perfectly symmetrical mound rising from the valley floor. Its wide base, measuring more than 40 meters in diameter, makes it one of the largest and most striking pyramids of its time. But despite its grand size, there is a palpable sense of abandonment about the site. It's as if the pyramid was meant to be the centerpiece of a powerful city, yet for reasons unknown, the city was left behind, and the pyramid was never completed. The pyramid's unique design raises immediate questions. While most Mesoamerican pyramids, such as those built by the Maya or the Aztecs, are known for their steep, terraced sides, Cuicuilco's form is entirely different. Its smooth, circular shape is far less common in the archaeological record, suggesting that it might have served a purpose quite distinct from the more conventional pyramids of the region. Could it have been a temple, a celestial observatory, or a ritual site? Or perhaps its design was linked to concepts of symmetry and cosmology, representing a deeper understanding of the universe that we can only begin to grasp? Archaeologists are certain that Cuicuilco was an important ceremonial center, but the true function of the pyramid remains elusive. Some suggest that the pyramid's circular shape had an astronomical purpose, potentially serving as an alignment for the sun, the moon, or other celestial bodies. This hypothesis is supported by the fact that the site was built during a period of intense astronomical observation in Mesoamerica, where the movement of the heavens was often believed to influence the lives of those on Earth. Yet, there are no clear inscriptions or evidence to confirm that the pyramid was designed with such precise astronomical alignments in mind, leaving the theory open to interpretation. Could the circular form have symbolized something more profound? Perhaps the cycle of life, death, and rebirth, or the eternal nature of time itself? What is even more puzzling is the sudden and unexplained abandonment of Cuicuilco. Around 600 BC, the once thriving city and its great pyramid were mysteriously deserted. A massive volcanic eruption from nearby Xitle, which buried much of the surrounding region under a thick layer of lava, is often cited as the cause. But this raises another set of questions. If the eruption was the reason for the city's abandonment, why didn't the inhabitants rebuild? Were they simply unable to recover, or was something else at play? Given the advanced engineering of the pyramid and the apparent importance of the site, could it be that the people of Cuicuilco chose to leave for reasons unrelated to the eruption? Was there a more deliberate decision to abandon the city, or perhaps even a religious or cultural reason for turning away from such a significant monument? Adding to the mystery is the fact that after the fall of Cuicuilco, it seems that the pyramid was left to decay and was largely forgotten for centuries. Despite being in close proximity to Tenochtitlan, the heart of the Aztec Empire, Cuicuilco was not rediscovered until the 20th century. The fact that such a significant and awe-inspiring structure remained obscured for so long only adds to the allure and mystique of the site. What also makes Cuicuilco intriguing is the surrounding landscape. The city of Cuicuilco was once part of a larger cultural and trade network that spanned much of central Mexico, including the Olmecs and other early Mesoamerican cultures. But while the Olmecs left behind massive stone heads and sophisticated art, Cuicuilco's legacy seems to have disappeared without a trace. The eruption of Xitle may have obliterated not only the physical remnants of the city, but also its influence on the broader Mesoamerican world. Yet, could there be more to the story? Perhaps a forgotten cultural connection that linked Cuicuilco to other, even older civilizations, whose histories we have yet to fully understand. Some speculative theories suggest that Cuicuilco could be older than traditionally thought, possibly predating the Olmecs or even other well-known Mesoamerican civilizations. If this is the case, could Cuicuilco have been the cradle of early Mesoamerican culture, a place where ideas, technology, and religion first took root and then spread throughout the region? Alternatively, could Cuicuilco represent a lost civilization, one whose records and cultural contributions were erased by time, the eruption, or a deliberate attempt to erase its influence? Equally intriguing is the possibility that Cuicuilco, like many ancient sites, holds clues to a much older and deeper history of the Americas. Were the people of Cuicuilco aware of far-reaching astronomical or architectural knowledge passed down from an even earlier civilization, one that has yet to be discovered? Or was this knowledge unique to them, perhaps influenced by ancient traditions that were entirely local in origin? The absence of written records at Cuicuilco complicates any answers, forcing us to rely on the physical evidence left behind in the stone and earth. As we contemplate the mysteries surrounding the Cuicuilco circular pyramid, we are reminded of the transient nature of civilizations. How many once great cities and monuments have been lost to the winds of time, their secrets locked away beneath layers of ash, earth, and stone? And how many others remain undiscovered, waiting for the day when their stories are finally told? The questions surrounding Cuicuilco remain unresolved. Was the pyramid a site of celestial worship, or was it part of a larger, more complex cultural and religious framework? Was its abandonment the result of disaster, or was it a conscious decision by a people who understood that their time had passed? As with so many ancient mysteries, the answers may lie just beyond our reach, hidden in the mists of time, waiting to be uncovered by those who are willing to look deeper. The mystery of Cuicuilco endures, and with it, the tantalizing possibility that more remains to be discovered. As we leave behind the mysterious circle of Cuicuilco, our exploration now takes us to the rugged hills of southeastern Spain, to a place where ancient settlements cling to the earth like whispers from a long-lost world. Here, atop the hills of the Iberian Peninsula, lie the remains of the Argar culture, a civilization that thrived during the Late Bronze Age, around 2200 BC to 1500 BC, but whose story has all but faded from the collective memory of humanity. The Argar hilltop settlements are a striking sight. Perched on elevated terrain, these settlements command views of the surrounding valleys, a strategic positioning that speaks to the importance of defense and control. From the remains scattered across the region, we can glean fragments of a once thriving society, complex urban settlements marked by impressive fortifications, carefully planned streets, and houses arranged with a sense of order and purpose. Yet, despite the remarkable level of organization visible in these settlements, the people who built them remain enigmatic, their culture and achievements barely documented, lost to time and the passage of history. The settlements themselves are comprised of a series of hilltop structures, the most notable being the fortified settlements located at sites like La Bastida, El Cerro de la Encina, and others within the El Argar region. These ancient ruins consist of large rectangular buildings made from stone, their walls still partially standing after thousands of years. The architectural layout suggests a society that was far more complex than the nomadic tribes that had come before it. Streets are laid out with remarkable precision, and many of the buildings appear to have been communal in nature, likely serving as centers for craft production, trade, or even ritual activity. The site of these structures, built from locally sourced stone, yet carefully crafted with a level of skill and forethought, gives the impression that the people of El Argar were not merely surviving, but thriving. One of the most intriguing aspects of the El Argar hilltop settlements is their highly developed system of fortifications. Unlike earlier cultures in the region, the people of El Argar built large, thick defensive walls around their settlements, indicating a society that may have been engaged in frequent conflict, or at the very least, felt the need to protect themselves from external threats. Yet, while the defensive structures suggest an ongoing struggle for survival, there are no records or clear indications of who these external enemies might have been. Was the El Argar civilization engaged in warfare with neighboring cultures? Or were these fortifications a response to internal strife, perhaps the result of power struggles within the society itself? And if so, what drove such divisions? Within the settlements, archaeologists have uncovered an array of artifacts, pottery, tools and personal items, offering a glimpse into the daily lives of the Argar people. Some of these items are strikingly sophisticated. Pottery, for example, is decorated with intricate designs, revealing a culture with a keen sense of artistry. Tools found at the site suggest that these people were skilled in a variety of crafts, from metalworking to textile production. Yet, what is particularly remarkable about Argar pottery is its functional nature. Many of the vessels appear to have been designed not just for decoration, but for specific uses, some for cooking, others for storage, and some for ceremonial purposes. Could these seemingly mundane items hold deeper meanings that we have yet to understand? Were they not merely tools of daily life, but symbols of status, power, or ritual? Equally fascinating are the burial practices of the Argar culture. The dead were often buried within the settlements, sometimes in communal tombs, sometimes in individual graves. Unlike the elaborate tombs of Egypt or Mesopotamia, the burials at Argar are far more understated, yet still possess an eerie significance. The bodies were often interred with grave goods, such as jewelry, pottery, and tools, items that would have been useful in the afterlife. This practice hints at a society that believed in the continuation of existence beyond death, suggesting a rich spiritual or religious life. Yet the absence of any written language at Argar means that we are left to interpret the meaning of these objects based on their physical context alone. What did these grave goods represent to the people of Argar? Were they simply offerings for the dead, or did they reflect a broader worldview, one centered on a deeper understanding of life, death, and the cosmos? Despite the sophistication of the Argar settlements, there remains a great deal of mystery surrounding the eventual decline of the culture. Around 1500 BC, the once flourishing civilization collapsed, its cities abandoned, and its people dispersed. The reasons for this sudden downfall remain elusive. Was it the result of external invasions, perhaps by the rising Mediterranean civilizations? Or did the collapse arise from internal factors, economic decline, social unrest, or environmental change? Some scholars have even speculated that the collapse may have been tied to the exhaustion of local resources or the depletion of agricultural land, though there is little conclusive evidence to support such theories. What is clear, however, is that the abrupt end of Argar is a mystery that continues to baffle archaeologists and historians. In some ways, the fall of Argar mirrors the fate of many ancient civilizations. The people who built these hilltop settlements, who crafted intricate pottery, who built monumental walls and communal spaces, seem to have vanished almost without a trace. But the ruins they left behind speak volumes, offering a glimpse into a society that was both advanced and deeply enigmatic. How much of their story remains untold, buried beneath the soil and forgotten by time? Some have proposed that the Argar culture was part of a larger network of interconnected societies, sharing knowledge and culture across a wide expanse of territory. If this is true, what other forgotten cultures might lie hidden beneath the earth, their stories waiting to be rediscovered? And perhaps most intriguing of all, what role did Argar play in the broader tapestry of ancient Mesoamerican and Mediterranean history? Could this isolated hilltop civilization have been part of an ancient, global web of trade, communication, and cultural exchange? Or did it emerge in isolation, a unique society that flourished for a time before fading into obscurity? As we stand before the remnants of Argar, we are left with as many questions as answers. The fate of this ancient civilization, its rise, its apex, and its sudden fall, remains one of the great unsolved mysteries of the ancient world. And perhaps, as with so many other ancient cultures, the truth of what happened to Argar is lost forever, buried beneath layers of time, waiting for future generations to unravel its secrets. Until then, we can only wonder what lies hidden beneath the hills and what stories might still be waiting to be told. As we leave behind the intriguing hilltop settlements of El Argar, our journey now takes us to the eastern Mediterranean, to the sun-drenched shores of Cyprus, where another ancient mystery awaits. In the heart of this island, nestled within a landscape of rolling hills and dry plains, lies one of the oldest and most enigmatic archaeological sites in the world, the ancient village of Khirokitia. Here, we encounter something both unexpected and remarkable. A series of stone houses, meticulously crafted and arranged in a way that speaks to an advanced understanding of architecture and community planning. These structures, dating back to the Neolithic period around 7000 BC, remain one of the most extraordinary enigmas of prehistory, raising questions about the people who built them and the society that once thrived here. Khirokitia is not just a collection of rudimentary shelters. It is a well-planned settlement that provides insight into the lives of a sophisticated society. The stone houses are built in a circular shape, some with walls reaching over 2 meters high, constructed from carefully hewn limestone blocks. Each house is remarkably consistent in design, with a central open space and thick, load-bearing walls that form a protective ring around the interior. The roofs, though long gone, would have been constructed from thatch, offering a degree of insulation from the harsh Cypriot sun. Around the edges of the settlement, these houses form a distinctive, circular arrangement, almost like spokes of a wheel, with a central area that may have been used for communal activities, ceremonies, or perhaps shared spaces for the group. What immediately stands out about Khirokitia is the sheer scale and sophistication of the construction. For a society that had yet to develop the wheel, metal tools, or written language, these stone houses demonstrate an advanced knowledge of engineering and social organization. The layout of the village suggests a carefully structured society, with an emphasis on communal living. The absence of individual burial sites further supports the idea that this was a collective society, where resources and space were shared, and where the social fabric was tightly knit. The discovery of numerous artifacts within the homes, pottery, grinding stones, and animal bones, provides further clues about the daily life of the inhabitants. The pottery, in particular, reveals a skilled craftsmanship, with pots and bowls that appear to have been used for cooking, storage, and possibly ritual purposes. But what remains particularly puzzling is the absence of any definitive markers of the social hierarchy we might expect from such a sophisticated settlement. No grand tombs, no evidence of ruling elites, no clear signs of wealth accumulation. In fact, the society at Khirokitia appears to have been remarkably egalitarian. How could such an advanced settlement have thrived for centuries without the kinds of social stratification seen in other ancient cultures? What does this suggest about their worldview and values? Even more mysterious is the reason for the settlement's eventual abandonment, around 3000 BC. Unlike other ancient sites that fell to the hands of invaders or collapsed under the weight of internal strife, Khirokitia seems to have been left behind in a manner that suggests a gradual fading rather than a violent end. Some theories point to environmental factors, such as climate change or soil depletion, while others propose that the people of Khirokitia may have simply moved on, abandoning their homes and lifestyle in favor of something else. Was the site intentionally deserted, or did the people of Khirokitia simply outgrow it, moving to new lands in search of resources or opportunities? The fact that the settlement shows no signs of violent destruction leaves open the possibility that its end was a natural and peaceful one, but the reasons for this remain speculative. Despite the absence of a clear cause for its decline, Khirokitia has continued to captivate archaeologists and historians. The site's layout, the craftsmanship of the stone houses, and the absence of written records all raise fundamental questions about the society that lived there. How did they come to build such an intricate settlement so early in history? Where did their knowledge of construction come from, And why did they choose to build in such a particular way? The circular arrangement of the houses is also striking. Could this form have had symbolic meaning? Was it a representation of the cyclical nature of life, or perhaps an alignment with celestial bodies, marking the passage of time? The absence of written records, much like other ancient societies we have explored, complicates the task of understanding the true purpose of Khirokitia. Was it a simple agricultural settlement, or was it a center of trade, culture, or spirituality? Some theories suggest that the settlement might have served as a religious or ritualistic center, where the community gathered for ceremonies or communal activities. The lack of grand monuments or ceremonial structures, however, calls this theory into question. Could the people of Khirokitia have had a more subtle, internalized form of spirituality, one that did not require physical markers or elaborate structures? The location of Khirokitia also raises questions. Situated on the southern edge of Cyprus, the village is in close proximity to the sea, a natural resource that would have provided both sustenance and opportunities for trade. Did the people of Khirokitia have connections with other civilizations across the Mediterranean, possibly engaging in early forms of maritime trade? Could their architectural expertise have influenced other contemporary societies, or were they part of a broader cultural movement that spanned the Neolithic world? The lack of evidence for external contact remains one of the major enigmas of the site. Did they isolate themselves, or did they simply leave no record of their interactions with the outside world? In recent years, some fringe theories have suggested that Khirokitia's inhabitants may have had access to knowledge or skills that were not typical for the time. Some speculate that the people of Khirokitia may have been influenced by an even earlier, now lost civilization, one with advanced architectural knowledge or spiritual practices. While these theories remain highly speculative, they raise the intriguing question of whether Khirokitia was an isolated society or a link in a much larger chain of ancient civilizations, each contributing to the tapestry of human history in ways that remain hidden. As we stand amidst the ruins of Khirokitia, with the wind rustling through the remains of the stone walls, the mystery of the settlement remains as potent as ever. What drove the inhabitants to create such a complex, communal settlement? And why did they leave it behind without a trace, seemingly without conflict or destruction? Was Khirokitia a beacon of early human cooperation and innovation? Or is it a symbol of something lost to time, its secrets scattered beneath the earth, waiting for us to uncover? The answers may still lie hidden within the stones, but for now, we can only continue to wonder. As we leave behind the ancient Neolithic village of Khirokitia, we now journey to the distant shores of the Indian Ocean, where another mystery awaits, one that has puzzled archaeologists and historians for centuries. Nestled on the coast of East Africa, in present-day Tanzania, lies a lesser-known yet extraordinary site, the coral stone foundations of Songo Mnara. These remains, seemingly simple in their construction, hold clues to a civilization that flourished in the distant past. But much like the other enigmatic settlements we have explored, Songo Mnara raises more questions than it answers. The site of Songo Mnara is a stark and hauntingly beautiful place. It sits on an island just off the mainland, surrounded by the soft blue waters of the Indian Ocean. The coral stone foundations, remnants of a long-abandoned city, are all that remain of a once thriving settlement. The structures are built with coral stone, a material that, while abundant in the region, was used in ways that suggest an advanced understanding of construction. These stone foundations are not crude. They are precise, arranged in geometrically consistent patterns that hint at a high degree of organization and planning. What makes Songo Mnara so intriguing is the quality of the construction. These foundations, arranged in rectangular and circular shapes, were clearly part of larger buildings. Some of these structures appear to have been public or ceremonial in nature, while others seem to have served residential purposes. Yet, despite the clarity of their design, there is little to indicate exactly how these buildings were used or what purpose they served. The site appears to have been part of a well-organized urban settlement, but we know almost nothing about the people who lived here. Who were they? What drove them to build in such an elaborate and deliberate manner? And why did they ultimately abandon the city, leaving behind only these ghostly stone foundations? Dating back to around the 14th and 15th centuries AD, Songo Mnara is part of a wider network of Swahili coastal settlements that once spanned the eastern African coastline, from Somalia in the north to Mozambique in the south. These settlements, including well-known cities like Kilwa, Kisiwani, and Zanzibar, were centers of trade, connecting Africa to the Middle East, India, and beyond. The people of Songo Mnara, it is believed, were part of this thriving maritime culture, engaging in long-distance trade that included goods such as ivory, gold, and slaves. The architecture of Songo Mnara reflects this connection, with its coral stone structures resembling those found in other Swahili coastal cities, characterized by their decorative arches, elaborate stonework, and expansive courtyards. The fact that coral stone was used so extensively in the construction of Songo Mnara speaks to the unique relationship the people had with their environment. The coral reefs of the region provided not just a source of building material, but also a ready-made defensive barrier, protecting the settlements from the open sea. This natural fortification, combined with the skillful use of stone, created an enduring structure that has withstood centuries of weathering, salt water, and time. Yet, the true significance of Songo Mnara lies not just in its architectural innovation, but in the way it challenges our understanding of the Swahili coast's historical development. While Songo Mnara is now considered one of the most important archaeological sites on the Swahili coast, the exact reasons for its abandonment remain shrouded in mystery. Like many ancient cities, its decline is not fully understood. Some theories suggest that the settlement was abandoned due to a shift in trade routes or a decline in the Indian Ocean trade network that had once sustained the city. Others propose that it was the result of environmental factors, such as rising sea levels or drought, which may have rendered the island less habitable. Yet, there is no conclusive evidence to explain why a settlement that appeared to be thriving would simply disappear from the historical record. Was it simply a matter of economics? Or could there have been more complex social or political factors at play? The mystery of Songo Mnara becomes even more intriguing when one considers its isolation. Unlike other Swahili cities, Songo Mnara does not appear to have had the same level of interaction with other cultures, whether from the interior of Africa, the Middle East, or Asia. While other Swahili settlements were often hubs of cultural exchange and mixing, Songo Mnara seems to have developed in relative isolation. This raises a crucial question. Was Songo Mnara a cultural anomaly, or was it part of a larger yet unknown civilization whose reach extended far beyond the Swahili coast? The layout of the city itself is a puzzle. The rectangular buildings with their open courtyards suggest a society that valued both privacy and communal life. The use of coral stone, while practical, also hints at an aesthetic consideration, as the stones were often carefully cut and placed with an attention to detail that goes beyond mere utility. Could this have been a society deeply concerned with architectural beauty and the symbolism of their environment? The intricate carvings and decorative elements found on some of the walls further suggest that art and culture played a significant role in daily life, though the full extent of these cultural practices remains elusive. Was the decorative stonework a reflection of the people's beliefs or their social hierarchy? What were they trying to communicate through these symbols, and to whom? Some archaeologists speculate that Songo Mnara may have been a center for religious or spiritual activity, perhaps serving as a place where the people of the Swahili coast came to worship or participate in rituals. The large open spaces within the settlement, along with the presence of elaborate stone structures, might suggest that the site had a ceremonial function. Could it have been a sacred site, dedicated to gods or spirits that connected the people to the natural world around them? Or was it purely a center for political power, with the grand structures built to display the wealth and influence of a ruling elite? Adding to the mystery are the many unanswered questions about the society's eventual disappearance. While the abandonment of ancient cities is not uncommon, the fact that Songo Mnara's ruins were left in such pristine condition raises new possibilities. Were the people who lived here driven away by an external force, perhaps a neighboring culture or invading force? Or did they simply fade from existence, leaving behind only their stone monuments? The site offers few clues to explain this disappearance, leaving archaeologists with much to speculate about. What makes Songo Mnara particularly haunting is the fact that, despite the impressive remains, the answers to these questions may forever remain out of reach. It is as if the city was intentionally designed to preserve its mysteries. The stone foundations stand silent, offering no answers, only the echo of a civilization that flourished and then vanished without a trace. Was Songo Mnara just one chapter in a larger story, one that we may never fully understand? Or was it a unique cultural moment, a forgotten link in the chain of human history? Perhaps the most profound question left by Songo Mnara is not why it was abandoned, but what it reveals about the impermanence of human civilization. The stone foundations, though weathered by centuries of ocean winds and salt, continue to stand as silent witnesses to a time long gone. They are a testament to the ability of human beings to create, to build, and to leave behind traces of their existence. Yet, as we stand before them, we are reminded that much of what we build will eventually fade into the past, leaving only questions behind. The mystery of Songo Mnara lingers, as it always will, unanswered but never forgotten. As we leave behind the coastal mysteries of Songo Mnara, we now turn our gaze westward, to the mist-covered hills of northern Spain. There, nestled in the rugged landscape of Asturias, lies another enigma that has confounded archaeologists for centuries, the ancient hill fort of Castro de Coaña. Rising above the valley floor, this Iron Age settlement, dating back to around the 6th century BC, stands as a silent testament to a forgotten people. Surrounded by dense forests and sweeping green pastures, the site is a place where the past seems to bleed into the present, and where every stone and wall might hold a clue to a culture that once thrived in this wild northern corner of the Iberian Peninsula. Castro de Coaña is not just a collection of crumbling stone walls. It is a carefully constructed settlement, built atop a hill to offer strategic advantage. The view from the top is breathtaking, with the surrounding landscape stretching for miles in every direction. The fortress-like walls of the settlement are made from local granite, skillfully fitted together without mortar, a testament to the craftsmanship of its builders. The site is characterized by a series of circular dwellings, each one encircled by its own defensive wall, with narrow passageways linking them in a manner that suggests both practicality and a certain architectural elegance. The settlement's layout reflects a deep understanding of defense and community organization, yet it also hints at something more, a complex social structure, an evolving culture, and a world that has vanished without a trace. What is immediately striking about Castro de Coaña is the sheer scale of the site. The settlement is vast, with over a dozen structures spread across the hillside. The circular houses are arranged in clusters, each with its own stone walls and small courtyards, a design that seems to speak to a strong sense of communal living. Inside the dwellings, archaeologists have uncovered evidence of everyday life: pottery shards, tools, and animal bones, all of which suggest that the inhabitants were not only skilled in farming and animal husbandry, but also engaged in trade and craftsmanship. Yet, despite these relatively mundane finds, there is an undeniable air of mystery surrounding the settlement. Who were these people? What were their beliefs? And why did they choose such a remote and difficult location for their settlement? The name Castro de Coaña itself offers a clue to the site's identity. The word Castro refers to the fortified settlements built by the Celtic peoples who inhabited the Iberian Peninsula during the Iron Age. These people, often referred to as the Celtiberians, were known for their warrior culture, their deep connections to the land, and their strong social hierarchies. Yet, despite their prominence in the history of ancient Iberia, much about the Celtiberians remains unknown. Castro de Coaña is a rare window into their world, but it raises more questions than it answers. One of the most intriguing aspects of Castro de Coaña is the mystery of its construction. The skillful stonework and the precision of the settlement's layout suggest a people who were not only adept at building, but who had a profound understanding of their environment. The circular design of the homes, for example, is thought to have been more than just a practical choice. It may have held symbolic meaning. Some researchers speculate that the circular structures were meant to represent the cycle of life, death, and rebirth, a concept that was central to many ancient belief systems. Could the circular houses have been designed to reflect the cosmos, with each dwelling representing a small microcosm of the universe? Or perhaps the design was a reflection of the people's connection to the earth, with the circle symbolizing the unity and interconnectedness of all things. Equally intriguing is the fact that Castro de Coaña was not isolated. The settlement is believed to have been part of a larger network of Celtic hill forts that dotted the landscape of northern Spain, and trade and communication with other cultures were likely a key part of daily life. Evidence of Mediterranean imports, such as pottery and metal goods, suggests that the inhabitants of Castro de Coaña were connected to wider networks of exchange. But the true extent of this interaction remains unclear. Did the people of Castro de Coaña share knowledge with other cultures, or were they more isolated, developing their own distinct practices and beliefs? The settlement's location on a hilltop was likely chosen for its strategic advantages. The elevated position would have provided a commanding view of the surrounding landscape, allowing the inhabitants to spot potential threats from a distance. Yet, the isolation of the site also raises the question of why the people of Castro de Coaña chose to settle in such a remote and challenging location. Was it a conscious decision to distance themselves from potential enemies, or was it driven by a spiritual or cultural connection to the land itself? The choice of location suggests that the settlement may have held symbolic importance, perhaps as a sacred or ritualistic site for the community. Despite the apparent sophistication of Castro de Coaña, the reasons for its eventual abandonment remain a mystery. The settlement was likely inhabited for several centuries, but by the time of the Roman conquest of the Iberian Peninsula in the 1st century BC, Castro de Coaña had been deserted. What happened to the people of this thriving settlement? Did they leave due to external pressures, perhaps a Roman invasion or the spread of new cultural influences? Or did the abandonment arise from internal factors, such as economic decline, environmental changes, or social upheaval? There are no clear answers, and the reasons for the site's desertion remain speculative at best. Adding to the mystery is the fact that, despite the wealth of archaeological material found at Castro de Coaña, there is no definitive written record that describes the settlement or its people. The Celtiberians, like many ancient cultures, left no written language, relying instead on oral traditions to pass down their stories and knowledge. As a result, much of what we know about their culture comes from external sources, often written by the Romans or Greek historians. But these accounts are fragmented and often biased, offering only a partial picture of the Celtiberian world. What then did the people of Castro de Coaña believe? What rituals did they perform? How did they understand their place in the world, and what legacy did they leave behind? Some fringe theories suggest that the settlement may have had a deeper, even more mystical significance, possibly linked to ancient Druidic practices or lost knowledge. While there is no solid evidence to support these theories, They raise fascinating questions about the hidden knowledge that might have been passed down through generations. Could the people of Castro de Coaña have been part of a larger, now forgotten spiritual or intellectual tradition? Were they in possession of ancient wisdom that has been lost to time, its secrets buried beneath the stones of their long-abandoned homes? As we stand before the stone walls of Castro de Coaña, the settlement seems to whisper its secrets, though it offers no easy answers. The site is a powerful reminder of the complexities of human history, of the civilizations that rose and fell, leaving behind only fragments of their culture. And as we continue our journey into the ancient past, we are left with more questions than answers. What truly happened to the people of Castro de Coaña? And what does their story reveal about the broader tapestry of ancient civilizations? The mystery remains unsolved, and perhaps, as with so many others, the full story of Castro de Coaña will forever remain hidden in the mists of time. After exploring the fortified remnants of Castro de Coaña, we now journey eastward to the banks of the Nile, to a lesser-known yet equally mysterious site, one that has been etched into the very rock of ancient Egypt. Far from the bustling monuments of Cairo or the grand tombs of Luxor, we find ourselves in the desolate yet awe-inspiring region of Gebel el-Silsila. It is here, nestled along the river, that a complex of rock shrines lies hidden, shrouded in both history and enigma. These shrines, carved directly into the mountainside, remain a place of pilgrimage, their stories and purpose seemingly lost to time. Yet, despite their age and isolation, they continue to speak to us in the language of stone, offering clues to a civilization whose spiritual practices remain largely mysterious. Gebel el-Silsila sits like a forgotten threshold between the ancient world and the ever-encroaching desert. The region is rugged and harsh, the terrain a patchwork of craggy hills and steep cliffs. The Nile River, which once nurtured this land with its fertile waters, snakes along the base of the mountains, as it has for millennia. It was here, along this ancient corridor, that the Egyptians once quarried some of the most important stone used in their great monuments. But it is not the stone that intrigues us now. It is the shrines carved into the very bedrock, scattered along the riverbanks, that draw our attention. These rock shrines, once used for worship and ritual, are not grand temples or towering obelisks. Instead, they are intimate, carved spaces within the mountain itself, small chambers and altars, etched with intricate reliefs and hieroglyphs. Some shrines are no more than shallow niches, while others open into deeper caves, their interiors adorned with representations of gods, kings, and divine symbols. The reliefs depict scenes of offerings, prayers, and rituals, providing a glimpse into the religious practices of those who once made pilgrimages to this remote and sacred site. What makes these shrines so intriguing is the fact that they were not built for the powerful pharaohs of Egypt's new kingdom, nor for the grand temples of the gods. These shrines were created for a different purpose, a purpose that remains unclear. While it is known that the area was used as a quarry for the stone that built many of Egypt's greatest structures, the function of the shrines themselves is less well understood. Why were they carved into the rock in such an isolated, desolate location? Were they the sites of personal devotion, where individuals could connect with the divine in the absence of grand temples? Or were they part of a larger network of sacred sites, linked together by a hidden religious or spiritual practice? The oldest inscriptions found in the area date back to the reign of the New Kingdom pharaohs, around 1500 BC, but the site continued to be used for centuries. The shrines were likely visited by workers and travelers passing through the region, seeking to pay homage or seek blessings before continuing on their journeys. This connection to the river and the stone quarrying activities suggests that Gebel el-Silsila may have been seen as a place where the physical and the spiritual intersected, a location where the labor of carving stone was aligned with the divine purpose of creating monuments to the gods. In this way, the very act of quarrying and carving the stone may have been imbued with religious significance. Yet, despite the seeming importance of Gebel el-Silsila, there are few historical records that explain its role within the broader context of Egyptian religion, or its connection to the well-known temples and burial sites along the Nile. The absence of a clear, established narrative about the site leaves many questions unanswered. Why were these shrines carved in such an isolated location, far from the major centers of power? Was this a place of private devotion, away from the prying eyes of the state? Or was it a site of communal worship, open to those who sought divine favor in the midst of their work? The carvings themselves are another source of mystery. Many of the reliefs depict offerings to gods and kings, but there are also curious symbols and images that have not been fully understood. Some of these symbols appear to be unique to Gebel el-Silsila, and they do not align perfectly with the more commonly known religious iconography of ancient Egypt. Could these unique symbols point to a forgotten religious tradition, one that existed alongside the official state religion but remained hidden or suppressed? Or do these carvings represent a form of esoteric knowledge, perhaps only accessible to those with the correct understanding of their meanings? As we explore the shrines, one is struck by the starkness of the environment. The surrounding cliffs are barren, and the quietness of the area feels almost sacred. The contrast between the natural harshness of the landscape and the delicate intricacy of the carvings in the rock is profound. In this remote, inhospitable place, the ancient Egyptians chose to carve their prayers into the very rock of the earth, as if seeking to make their devotion eternal. The shrines themselves, though weathered by time, still retain an air of sanctity. There is a palpable sense of awe, as if the rock itself holds the secrets of those who once knelt before it, offering their hopes and desires to the gods. The mystery of Gebel el-Silsila deepens when we consider the possible connection between the site and the greater religious landscape of Egypt. While the shrines are not linked to any known dynastic rulers or state-sponsored religious practices, the very act of creating such shrines raises important questions about the diversity of religious expression in ancient Egypt. How many other sacred sites, like Gebel el-Silsila, remain hidden from us, their stories obscured by time and erosion? How much of Egypt's ancient religious life was left to the people, to those who did not have the power or wealth to build grand temples, but who sought connection to the divine in more humble, personal ways? Perhaps one of the most compelling aspects of Gebel el-Silsila is its potential role as a spiritual nexus, a place where the divine and the mundane meet. The quarries that lined the banks of the Nile were the source of the stone used to build some of Egypt's greatest monuments, from the grand temples to the tombs of the pharaohs. But the stone itself, as it was carved and shaped, may have been seen as more than just a physical material. It may have been imbued with spiritual significance, tied to the gods in ways we can only begin to understand. Gebel el-Silsila, with its rock shrines and carved reliefs, may have represented a place where the power of the earth and the heavens converged. Despite the evidence of human activity, much of Gebel el-Silsila remains unexplained. What was the specific role of these shrines in the lives of the people who visited them? Were they simply places of personal devotion, or did they have a deeper, more profound significance? The lack of written records leaves us with only the stone itself to guide us, and in that stone, the mysteries of the past remain veiled. What other secrets does this forgotten corner of Egypt hold? How many more sites like Gebel el-Silsila lie hidden, waiting to reveal their stories? As we walk away from the rock shrines, the questions linger in the air, unanswered, just as they have for centuries. And though the stones may remain silent, they continue to whisper their secrets to those who are willing to listen. As we leave behind the sun-baked stone shrines of Gebel el-Silsila, we now find ourselves in a vastly different environment. one defined by the cool, mist-drenched hills of Scotland. Here, amidst the rolling landscape of the Scottish Highlands, lies a site that has captivated the imaginations of archaeologists and visitors alike for centuries: the Balnuaran of Clava. This ancient burial complex, hidden in plain sight within the Cairngorms National Park, offers a rare glimpse into the spiritual and ritualistic practices of a people long forgotten by history. Yet, like many other ancient sites, the true significance of Balnuaran of Clava remains an enigma, leaving more questions than answers. The site is deceptively simple in appearance at first glance: 3 large cairns, or burial mounds, surrounded by stone circles, set within a quiet and tranquil landscape. At the center of each cairn, a passage leads into a chamber made of large, precisely cut stones. These chambers, which remain remarkably well preserved, are thought to have once held the remains of the dead. But while the physical aspects of the site are clear, its meaning remains elusive. Was this a place reserved solely for the dead? Or was it a site of spiritual or ceremonial importance? And why did the people who built this structure choose such a location, nestled in the hills, far from the busy centers of settlement? The first striking feature of the Balnuaran of Clava is the stone circles that surround the cairns. These are not just simple arrangements of rocks. They are meticulously planned, with the stones set at specific distances, forming a near-perfect circle around each mound. In the center of the stone circles, the cairns stand like silent sentinels, their passageways leading deep into the earth. The placement of these stones is no accident. It is believed that these circles were not merely decorative, but served a larger, more mysterious purpose. Could they have been used to mark celestial alignments? The positioning of the stones suggests an intimate connection with the natural world, a relationship between the dead and the heavens, one that remains largely unexplained. The cairns themselves are constructed from large, carefully chosen stones, so large, in fact, that their transport and placement must have been a monumental task. The stones were clearly not just selected for their size, but for their symbolic significance as well. In ancient times, such large stones were often associated with power, ritual, and the idea of permanence. Was this intentional? Was the very act of moving and positioning these massive stones believed to channel some kind of energy, or was it a way of ensuring that the dead were honored in the most lasting and monumental manner possible? One of the most intriguing aspects of the Balnuaran of Clava is its apparent connection to the broader landscape. The cairns are positioned near a series of other prehistoric structures, such as stone circles and standing stones, that seem to form a network across the highlands. The precise connections between these sites remain unclear, but the layout suggests a deliberate alignment with the natural features of the land, an effort to harmonize the built environment with the forces of nature. Some believe these connections reflect a kind of ancient spiritual geography, where the locations of sacred sites were chosen not just for their proximity to resources, but for their alignment with the stars, the sun, and the moon. Could the builders of Balnuaran of Clava have been mapping the cosmos, creating a physical representation of the universe as they understood it? Another fascinating feature of the site is the presence of a unique kind of passage burial, which was used in the construction of the cairns. These passage graves, with their narrow, stone-lined passageways leading into the burial chambers, are reminiscent of similar sites found across Europe, from Ireland to Brittany. The idea of the passage, leading from the outside world into the sanctity of the tomb, speaks to the ancient belief in a journey between the living and the dead. Was this pathway meant to guide the soul of the deceased into the afterlife? Or was it part of a larger ritual designed to facilitate communication between the realms of the living and the divine? The passageways may have been seen as portals, not just to the tomb, but to a world beyond, one where the dead could still influence the living. The age of the Balnuaran of Clava is another part of its mystery. While the site has been dated to around 2000 BC, the people who built it, the Bronze Age ancestors of the Celts, left behind no written records. What little we know of these ancient people comes from the archaeological evidence itself, the stone structures and the artifacts found within. Yet, there are no inscriptions, no written texts to explain their beliefs or their purpose. This leaves us to ponder. What drove these people to create such elaborate structures? Was it a desire for immortality, a need to honor their ancestors, or something more complex, a deep connection to the land and the cosmos that we may never fully understand? There is also a speculative theory that has been proposed by some scholars, one that suggests that the Balnuaran of Clava was not only a burial site, but also a center of religious and astronomical activity. The placement of the stones and the alignment of the passage graves may have been designed to coincide with the movements of the sun and the moon, marking key points in the seasonal cycle. Some believe that the site could have been used as a kind of observatory, a place where the changing positions of the celestial bodies were studied and recorded. Could the people of Balnuaran of Clava have been using the site to track the solstices and equinoxes, to mark the passage of time in a way that was deeply tied to their understanding of the cosmos? If so, what did these celestial observations mean to them? Were they simply practical tools for tracking time, or did they hold deeper, more spiritual significance? The mystery surrounding Balnuaran of Clava only deepens when we consider the broader cultural context of its creation. The people who built these cairns and stone circles left behind no written language, no clear records of their daily lives. Yet their monuments stand as a testament to their creativity, their ingenuity, and their desire to connect with something greater than themselves. Were they part of a larger, now forgotten culture, one that shared similar burial practices and beliefs across Britain and Europe? Or was Balnuaran of Clava unique in its design and purpose, a singular creation that defies easy explanation? As we stand before the cairns, their stones cold and weathered by centuries of time, it is impossible not to feel the weight of history pressing in. The mystery of Balnuaran of Clava remains unsolved, its true purpose still hidden beneath the stones. Was it a place of personal devotion, a sanctuary for the dead, or a ceremonial center for an ancient religion? The site offers no clear answers, only the quiet, solemn presence of the past. And in that silence, we are left to wonder, what did the builders of Balnuaran of Clava truly believe? What secrets do the stones hold, and what might we still discover about the ancient people who once made pilgrimages to this sacred place? Perhaps, like so many ancient mysteries, the full story will never be known, but it will continue to intrigue and captivate those who seek to uncover the past. As we leave behind the mist-shrouded hills of Scotland and journey deeper into the enigmatic history of human civilization, we find ourselves in a much warmer, arid region, the heart of Palestine. Here, nestled between the rolling hills of the Judean foothills, lies the site of Khirbet Qeiyafa. The name may not be as widely known as other ancient cities, but for archaeologists and historians, it holds a profound significance, offering a glimpse into a long-forgotten period of history that continues to stir debate and speculation. Khirbet Qeiyafa is not just another archaeological site. It is a city that challenges our understanding of the ancient world, particularly the early history of Palestine. This fortified settlement, which dates back to the 10th century BC, is located on a high ridge, offering a commanding view of the surrounding landscape. The site is a sprawling urban center with a series of large, well-planned buildings, roads, and defensive walls, all constructed with a precision that suggests a well-organized and advanced society. Yet, what makes Khirbet Qeiyafa so intriguing is not just its size or its location. It is the mystery surrounding its identity and the culture that built it. The settlement covers an area of about 12 acres, and what immediately stands out is its fortification. A massive city wall, built from large stones, encircles the entire site, with strategically placed gates allowing for controlled entry and exit. The wall is not just a defensive structure. It is a statement of power, suggesting that this was a city of some importance, one that was prepared to defend itself against external threats. Within the walls, the layout of the city is meticulously planned, with streets that run in straight lines and buildings arranged in a grid-like pattern. This urban design suggests a level of organization and planning that was ahead of its time for the 10th century BC. At the heart of the city lies what appears to be a large public building, perhaps a palace or a temple. The structure is imposing, with a series of rooms and courtyards, and it is here that many of the most significant discoveries at Khirbet Qeiyafa have been made. The site's archaeologists have uncovered a wealth of artifacts, including pottery, inscriptions, and tools, all of which provide valuable insights into the daily lives of the people who lived here. Yet, despite these findings, much about the settlement remains shrouded in mystery. The most striking aspect of Khirbet Qeiyafa is the inscription found on several pottery shards, which has become the focal point of intense scholarly debate. The inscription, which appears to be written in an early form of Hebrew, contains characters that are remarkably similar to those found in the biblical texts. Some scholars have argued that the inscription provides evidence of a literate society in Palestine at a time when many believed writing had not yet emerged in the region. This discovery has led some to speculate that Khirbet Qeiyafa may have been a key city in the early history of the biblical kingdom of Judah, a place that may have played a central role in the events described in the Bible. Yet, this theory is far from universally accepted. While the inscription is tantalizing, it does not provide definitive proof of the city's identity, nor does it offer clear evidence of its connection to biblical figures such as King David. Some scholars point out that the inscription is not a monumental text, but rather a simple mark made on pottery. Others argue that the script used in the inscription is not fully consistent with later forms of Hebrew, which suggests that it may have been an isolated example of early writing rather than evidence of a fully developed literate society. The debate surrounding the inscription raises important questions. How far back does literacy in Palestine really go? And if Khirbet Qeiyafa was indeed a city of such importance, why is it not mentioned in the biblical accounts of the time? The mystery of Khirbet Qeiyafa deepens when we consider the possibility that the city was deliberately abandoned. Evidence from the excavation site suggests that the city was not destroyed by a violent conquest or invasion, but rather left behind in a more gradual manner. The structures show no signs of large-scale destruction, and many of the buildings are intact, though abandoned. This raises the question: why would a city of such apparent significance simply be abandoned? Was it the result of an economic collapse, a shift in political power, or perhaps the rise of a new cultural or religious influence that led to the city's decline? The absence of clear answers only adds to the intrigue surrounding the site. One theory that has been proposed is that Khirbet Qeiyafa was a center of religious or political control, possibly linked to the rise of the monarchy in Judah. Some suggest that the city's fortifications and public buildings point to a growing centralization of power, possibly associated with the biblical accounts of King David and his establishment of a kingdom in the region. If this is true, then Khirbet Qeiyafa may have been one of the earliest urban centers of the ancient Judean kingdom, a place where the seeds of biblical history were sown. However, other theories offer different interpretations. Some researchers argue that Khirbet Qeiyafa may have been a more independent settlement, with no direct connection to the biblical kingdom of Judah. Instead, they suggest that the city was part of a broader network of regional powers, with a unique cultural identity that did not align neatly with the biblical narrative. This interpretation challenges the notion of a unified, centralized kingdom and suggests that early Palestine was home to a mosaic of competing city-states, each with its own religious and political structures. The absence of conclusive evidence, combined with the range of competing theories, makes Khirbet Qeiyafa one of the most enigmatic sites in the ancient world. The inscriptions, The urban planning, and the artifacts all suggest a society that was both sophisticated and organized. Yet its role in the larger historical narrative of ancient Palestine remains unclear. Was it a key player in the rise of the biblical kingdom of Judah? Or was it an independent city-state that fell victim to the shifting tides of history? Even the question of who lived in Khirbet Qeiyafa remains a subject of speculation. The site's location, perched on a ridge overlooking the Ela Valley, suggests that it was strategically positioned, possibly to control trade routes or monitor movements in the region. But who were the people who built this city? Were they descendants of the Canaanites, the Philistines, or perhaps the early Hebrews? Were they part of a larger, more complex civilization that is now lost to history? The mystery of Khirbet Qeiyafa continues to captivate those who seek to uncover the truth about the ancient world. The city's walls still stand, as do its gates and chambers, silent witnesses to a civilization that has long since vanished. Yet, as with so many other ancient mysteries, Khirbet Qeiyafa offers no easy answers. Instead, it leaves us with more questions. Questions about the origins of writing, the rise of early kingdoms, and the interplay between history and legend. As we stand before the ruins of Khirbet Qeiyafa, we are reminded of how much of the past remains hidden beneath the surface, waiting to be uncovered. What secrets still lie buried beneath the stones of this ancient city? What truths about the origins of Palestine and the peoples who once called it home are still waiting to be revealed? The answers may never fully emerge, but the journey to uncover them continues. And in the end, it is the mystery itself, the lingering uncertainty, that makes Khirbet Qeiyafa so compelling, inviting us to imagine what might still lie just beneath the surface. After the intriguing remains of Khirbet Qeiyafa, we now turn our gaze eastward, across the sands of time and space, to a civilization that thrived long before the Israelites laid the foundations of their kingdom. Our journey leads us to the ancient land of Mesopotamia, where the Ziggurat of Dur-Kurigalzu rises like a forgotten titan from the earth. It stands at the heart of a landscape that once echoed with the voices of kings and gods in what is now the modern-day region of Iraq. But much like the towering pyramid-shaped temples of other ancient cultures, this ziggurat has largely faded from the collective memory, its purpose, construction, and eventual abandonment shrouded in layers of time. The Ziggurat of Dur-Kurigalzu, named after the Kassite king who built it, is one of the most significant archaeological wonders of the ancient world, yet it remains curiously underexplored in popular history. Located in the ancient city of Dur-Kurigalzu, just 30 kilometers west of modern Baghdad, the structure is a colossal stepped platform, rising from the plains like a stairway to the heavens. Towering above the surrounding ruins, the ziggurat was dedicated to the god Enlil, one of the supreme deities of the Mesopotamian pantheon. Its imposing presence, built to both honor the gods and assert the power of the ruling Kassite dynasty, offers a glimpse into a time when religious architecture reached new heights, both figuratively and literally. Constructed in the 14th century BC during the reign of King Kurigalzu I, the ziggurat is made from mud bricks, a material that, while abundant, does not often withstand the ravages of time. Yet, miraculously, some of its original structure still stands, rising as a monument to the ambitions of its creators. The ziggurat's base is large and expansive, its layers of terraces ascending in a series of stepped levels, each smaller than the last. A temple once sat atop the ziggurat, though only the foundations of this religious center remain. As we look upon its base, it is difficult not to be in awe of the sheer effort and ingenuity required to construct such a massive edifice in an era without the advanced technologies we take for granted today. Yet, as we delve deeper into the mystery of this ancient structure, we are confronted with questions that remain largely unanswered. What drove the Kassites to build such an imposing monument in the first place? Why dedicate it to Enlil, a god whose worship was widespread across Mesopotamia, but who held particular significance for the Kassite dynasty? Was it purely an expression of religious devotion, or was the ziggurat also a political statement, a way for Kurigalzu to solidify his authority and power in a region rife with rival kingdoms and empires? The absence of detailed records from the time of Dur-Kurigalzu's construction leaves us with more questions than answers. The Kassites, who ruled over Babylon and much of Mesopotamia during this period, remain somewhat mysterious. Little is known about their origins, their customs, or their internal politics. What we do know is that they came to power following the fall of the Babylonian Empire and ruled for several centuries, leaving behind a legacy of impressive buildings, including the Ziggurat of Dur-Kurigalzu. But why, after their long reign, did this once mighty civilization eventually fade into obscurity? As we examine the ruins of Dur-Kurigalzu, another enigma becomes apparent. The ziggurat, though well preserved in parts, is surrounded by the remains of a once thriving city. The layout of the city suggests a highly organized society, with streets and buildings arranged in a careful, grid-like pattern. Yet, despite the impressive scale of the ziggurat and the apparent sophistication of the settlement, the city was ultimately abandoned. The reasons for this abandonment remain unclear. Was it the result of a military conquest, a natural disaster, like the shifting of rivers or a devastating flood? Or perhaps more intriguingly, did the Kassite rulers simply lose their hold on power, and with it, the will to maintain such monumental projects? There are hints, too, that the Ziggurat of Dur-Kurigalzu was not merely a local structure, but one with far-reaching influence. Inscriptions found at the site suggest that the kings of the Kassite dynasty sought to establish their authority over a broad territory, and the ziggurat may have served as a symbol of their rule, a monument visible to all who passed through the region. It is possible that the ziggurat's grand scale was meant to communicate the power of the Kassite kings, not just to their subjects, but to neighboring states as well. In this light, the ziggurat becomes more than a religious temple. It becomes a political tool, a statement of divine right and imperial ambition. But there are more speculative theories that offer a different perspective. Some researchers have suggested that the Ziggurat of Dur-Kurigalzu may have been part of a larger, interconnected network of ziggurats that spanned Mesopotamia, forming a kind of religious and political axis. If so, was the ziggurat at Dur-Kurigalzu aligned with other monumental structures across the region? Were there hidden meanings encoded into its architecture, symbolic representations of celestial bodies, or perhaps even alignments with the stars, as some believe may have been the case with other ziggurats in the ancient world? Additionally, there are whispers of connections between the ziggurat of Dur-Kurigalzu and the broader myths and religious practices of the ancient Near East. Some have pointed to parallels between the ziggurat and the biblical Tower of Babel, suggesting that the architectural ambition behind the Dur-Kurigalzu ziggurat might have been tied to the same mythological themes of human pride and defiance of divine order. Could the Kassites have built their ziggurat as a way to reach the heavens, much as the biblical builders of Babel sought to do? Or was the structure intended to honor the gods, rather than challenge them? The ambiguity of the site leaves room for many interpretations, both historical and mythological. What is clear, however, is that the Ziggurat of Dur-Kurigalzu is not just an architectural marvel. It is a portal into a lost world. Its towering presence speaks to the ambition and ingenuity of a civilization that flourished in the heart of Mesopotamia, yet whose legacy is shrouded in the sands of time. The city surrounding the ziggurat, though now reduced to rubble, once teemed with life. Its streets, markets, and homes, a testament to a people who thrived in an era of shifting alliances and rivalries. But, much like the rise and fall of the Kassite dynasty itself, the mysteries of Dur-Kurigalzu remain elusive. Why did the Kassites build such an extraordinary structure? What was the true purpose behind their ziggurat? And why, after centuries of prosperity, did they ultimately abandon their great city? As we stand before the ruins of this ancient monument, the questions linger in the air, unanswered and unresolved. Perhaps the stones of the ziggurat hold the answers, but for now they remain silent, whispering only fragments of a story lost to time. As we move from the towering ziggurats of Mesopotamia to the vast steppes of the Eurasian heartland, we are transported to a place where the land meets the sky in an almost surreal embrace: Arkaim. This ancient site, hidden deep in the southern Ural Mountains of modern-day Russia, might appear at first glance to be just another forgotten remnant of prehistory. Yet, Arkaim's circular settlement stands as a silent but enigmatic testament to the ancient peoples who once occupied this land. The settlement is extraordinary, not only for its age, dating back to around 2000 BC, but also for the sophistication embedded in its design. Arkaim, which has often been called the Stonehenge of the steppe, consists of a series of circular structures, laid out with such precision that they seem to almost defy the primitive tools available to its builders. The walls of the settlement form concentric rings, with defensive ditches, large wooden gates, and residential areas all organized in an intricate pattern that suggests both strategic planning and a deeply symbolic worldview. As you approach the site, the first thing that strikes you is the stark geometry of it all. The settlement is divided into two main rings of earth and timber, encircling a central area, which would have likely housed ceremonial spaces or communal gathering areas. The outer ring, with its massive earthworks and fortified walls, provides insight into the defensive nature of the site. This is not a city built merely for shelter. It was built for protection, possibly against invaders from the steppes. But even more intriguing is the design of the inner circle, which seems to serve as a spiritual or ritual center, with evidence suggesting that it was once home to significant ceremonial activity. Within the boundaries of Arkaim, archaeologists have uncovered a wealth of artifacts, ceramics, tools, and remnants of everyday life. Yet, it is the presence of large ritual spaces and the careful alignment of certain structures that sets the settlement apart from others of its time. Some of the buildings appear to have been intentionally oriented with the solstices, pointing to a culture deeply attuned to the cycles of the sun, the stars, and the natural rhythms of the earth. This deliberate alignment suggests that the inhabitants of Arkaim were not only skilled builders, but also possessed a sophisticated understanding of astronomy and the natural world, possibly even predating similar knowledge in other parts of the ancient world. But what of the people who built this remarkable settlement? Who were they, and what drove them to construct such a complex, circular layout? Archaeological evidence points to the existence of a group known as the Sintashta culture, a Bronze Age people who likely lived across the vast Eurasian steppe. The Sintashta are believed to have been among the earliest Indo-European groups to settle in this region, and they are known for their advances in metallurgy, particularly the production of bronze. Yet their settlements, such as Arkaim, suggest that they were not simply nomadic herders. They were capable of creating well-organized, fortified towns, suggesting a more sedentary and structured society than many other contemporary cultures. Despite these findings, much about the Sintashta people remains shrouded in mystery. The purpose of Arkaim itself is still hotly debated. Was it a religious center, where early Indo-European peoples worshipped their gods and practiced rituals connected to the cycles of nature? Or was it more of a military stronghold, a fortified outpost built to defend against the nomadic tribes that roamed the surrounding steppe? Some theories even suggest that it could have been both, a sacred city with military significance designed to protect not only the physical well-being of its people, but also the sacred knowledge they believed they possessed. One of the most intriguing aspects of Arkaim is its possible connection to ancient astronomical knowledge. The settlement is believed to have been carefully aligned with celestial bodies, and some researchers argue that it may have functioned as a kind of observatory designed to track the stars, the sun, and the movement of the planets. This aligns with other ancient cultures that also built large ceremonial structures for the purpose of astronomical observation, such as the pyramids of Egypt or Stonehenge in England. But unlike these better-known sites, Arkaim has remained relatively obscure, buried under the windswept grass of the steppe, its secrets only recently uncovered by modern archaeology. The circular layout of Arkaim also holds symbolic significance, as circles were common motifs in many ancient cultures, often representing wholeness, eternity, and the cyclical nature of time. The two concentric rings of the settlement could represent the duality of the cosmos, the inner circle symbolizing the spiritual world, and the outer circle representing the earthly realm. Some even speculate that the settlement structure was designed to reflect the ancient belief in the sacred geometry of the universe, a belief that viewed the cosmos as a vast, interconnected web of energy, with humans occupying a central position between the heavens and the earth. Yet, despite these speculative theories, we are left with more questions than answers. Why was Arkaim built with such precision and care, and why was it abandoned so suddenly? Evidence suggests that Arkaim was only inhabited for a few hundred years, an incredibly short time, considering the effort put into its construction. What led to its downfall? Was it the result of warfare, environmental change, or perhaps internal strife? The settlement's abandonment remains one of the great mysteries surrounding the site. Moreover, as the Sintashta culture flourished and then disappeared, it raises larger questions about the evolution of ancient civilizations. Could the complex design of Arkaim represent a precursor to later, more well-known ancient cultures? Some researchers argue that the structures of Arkaim might have influenced the development of later urban settlements in the region, possibly even influencing the design of ancient cities like those found in Mesopotamia or the Indus Valley. If true, this would position Arkaim as a critical link in the early development of urban planning and architectural design, making it far more significant than its relatively small size might suggest. But there is also the possibility that Arkaim was not just a precursor to later civilizations. It might have been a significant center of knowledge in its own right. What if the people who lived there understood something about the natural world that we are only beginning to comprehend today? What if the settlement's symbolic architecture and its alignment with celestial bodies held deeper meanings, tied to an ancient belief system that has long been forgotten? And then there is the question of its abandonment. Was it simply a matter of time, as so many other civilizations faded into the past? Or was something more dramatic at play? Archaeologists are still unsure, and without more concrete evidence, the reasons for Arkaim's sudden disappearance remain one of the great unanswered questions of ancient history. Standing at the site today, amidst the faded earthworks and scattered pottery, it is impossible not to wonder about the people who once called this place home. Their sophisticated knowledge of astronomy, their mastery of metallurgy, and their intricate circular town planning suggest a society that was far more advanced than we might expect for the Bronze Age. But just as much as their accomplishments, it is their disappearance that remains a compelling enigma. What remains hidden beneath the surface of Arkaim? Could there be more to discover, waiting to reveal the true purpose of this mysterious settlement? And what, if anything, do its inhabitants have to teach us about our own understanding of the world and the universe? The questions linger, unanswered, as we look out over the vast, empty steppe, an ancient puzzle still waiting to be solved. As we continue our exploration of the world's most enigmatic ancient sites, we now turn our attention to a place that has long eluded the full grasp of historians and archaeologists alike: the lost port of Adulis. Situated somewhere along the Red Sea coast, this ancient port city was once a thriving hub of trade and culture, connecting the ancient kingdom of Aksum in what is now northern Ethiopia with the farthest reaches of the ancient world. Yet, despite its prominence in the classical world, Adulis now lies submerged beneath layers of time, its exact location still a subject of debate and mystery. To those who study the ancient world, Adulis is a place of great intrigue. It was, for centuries, the gateway between Africa and the Mediterranean, and it played a critical role in the trade routes that carried gold, ivory, spices, and exotic goods from the shores of Aksum to the great civilizations of Rome, Persia, and India. Yet, despite this importance, Adulis gradually faded from the historical record, its precise whereabouts forgotten for millennia. Now, archaeologists and historians are slowly piecing together the puzzle of this lost port. But with every discovery, more questions arise. What remains of Adulis today is little more than tantalizing fragments. According to ancient texts, Adulis was located near the mouth of the Bay of Zula, a strategic position that provided easy access to both the Red Sea and the interior of the African continent. The port was mentioned by classical authors such as the Greek historian Strabo and the Roman geographer Ptolemy, who described it as one of the most important ports of the ancient world. In their accounts, Adulis was not just a commercial center, it was a cultural melting pot where merchants from across the Mediterranean, Africa, and Asia converged. The goods traded at Adulis were legendary: luxuries from India, spices from Arabia, precious metals from sub-Saharan Africa, all funneled through this singular point into the heart of the ancient world. Yet, despite the wealth that flowed through its docks, Adulis was not simply a place of material commerce. It was also a spiritual center, with temples dedicated to both local gods and deities from foreign lands. The remains of inscriptions found at the site speak of the kingdom of Aksum's outreach to far-flung regions, and it is clear that Adulis was a nexus not just for goods, but for ideas, faiths, and cultures. The port was a place where the Christian religion, which had begun to take root in Aksum in the 4th century, mingled with older pagan practices, as well as the religions of the Roman and Persian empires. It was here, too, that ambassadors and emissaries from distant lands would arrive, seeking to forge alliances, trade agreements, and perhaps even diplomatic ties with one of the most powerful kingdoms in East Africa. The story of Adulis, however, is not one of eternal prosperity. Despite its prominence, the port's fortunes seem to have declined gradually during the early medieval period. The reasons for this decline remain unclear. Was it the result of changing trade routes, perhaps driven by the rise of Islam in the 7th century, which shifted the center of the Red Sea trade to ports further to the north and east? Or was it the result of internal strife within the Aksumite kingdom, which may have weakened its control over the region? What is known is that, by the 10th century, Adulis had largely been abandoned, its once thriving harbor now a silent echo of its former glory. Yet, even as the port faded from history, the question of its exact location continued to haunt explorers and archaeologists. In the early 20th century, several expeditions were launched to find the ruins of Adulis, based on the descriptions left behind by ancient writers. Some suggested that it lay near the modern town of Zula, while others pointed to the region around Massawa, further to the north. But despite numerous excavations, the remains of the port have yet to be conclusively identified, leading some to wonder if Adulis was swallowed by the shifting sands of time, or perhaps even submerged beneath the waves of the Red Sea itself. One of the most puzzling aspects of the search for Adulis is the apparent lack of physical evidence at the supposed site of the port. In recent decades, underwater archaeology has become a promising avenue of research, as some believe that the port's ruins may lie beneath the waters of the Red Sea, submerged due to rising sea levels or seismic activity. The idea that Adulis might have been lost not to time but to the ocean is a tantalizing one, and it would explain the lack of visible ruins at the sites that have been traditionally associated with the port. But even underwater surveys have yielded only fragmentary evidence: scattered pottery, the remains of docks, and the occasional coin. Is this the lost port of Adulis, or simply another piece of the ever-expanding mosaic of ancient history? Some archaeologists have proposed that Adulis's remains might lie farther to the south, near the coast of modern-day Eritrea. Here, remnants of ancient harbors and trading posts have been found, which may provide a clue to the location of the fabled port. Others believe that the site could lie hidden deep in the desert, beneath the layers of earth and sand that have slowly buried the region over time. Still, despite the growing body of evidence, a definitive discovery remains elusive. It is as though the port has purposefully kept its secrets, unwilling to be uncovered. What is most intriguing, however, is the possibility that Adulis's story may not be fully told. The significance of this port extends far beyond its commercial importance. If it truly was a center of religious and cultural exchange, where faiths, languages, and traditions intersected, then finding its ruins could offer unprecedented insights into the interactions between Africa, the Mediterranean, and the Near East during antiquity. How did Christianity, for example, spread across the Red Sea, and what role did Adulis play in this religious transformation? Did the port also serve as a bridge for the ancient exchange of knowledge, astronomical, mathematical, or philosophical, that helped shape civilizations across the ancient world? The loss of Adulis may be, in a way, symbolic of the larger mysteries that have eluded historians for centuries: the fading of ancient cities, the disruption of great empires, and the erasure of once thriving cultures from the historical record. What happened to Adulis? Was its decline a natural consequence of the changing tides of history? Or was it a deliberate act, a silent abandonment of a place that had once been at the crossroads of the ancient world? Could the answers to these questions be buried under centuries of sand and sea, waiting for the right moment to be unearthed? The lost port of Adulis stands as a reminder that, even in an age of unprecedented archaeological discovery, there are still mysteries that remain hidden in the folds of time. And perhaps, as we continue to search for the answers, we might uncover something even greater than the ruins of a port, a deeper understanding of the ancient world and its enduring legacies. As we continue our journey through the annals of ancient mystery, we now arrive at one of the most enigmatic and fascinating sites of the ancient world, Mohenjo-Daro. Nestled in the arid plains of modern-day Pakistan, Mohenjo-Daro was once a vibrant metropolis at the heart of the Indus Valley civilization. Today, it stands as a haunting reminder of a world that flourished more than 4,500 years ago and yet remains shrouded in mystery. When you first approach the ruins of Mohenjo-Daro, the site seems almost impossibly vast, stretching across a wide, dusty expanse of the Sindh region. The sun beats down relentlessly on the brown, cracked earth, casting long shadows over the remnants of ancient streets, walls, and buildings. The city, which was one of the largest urban centers of the Indus Valley civilization, is a maze of carefully planned streets and drainage systems that give it the appearance of an advanced and organized society, one that was centuries ahead of its time. The most striking feature of Mohenjo-Daro is its layout. The city is divided into two main sections, the citadel and the lower city. The citadel, which rises slightly above the rest of the city, likely served as a place of administration, with its impressive buildings, granaries, and baths suggesting that it may have been the center of religious or political power. The lower city, sprawling below the citadel, contains rows of well-planned homes, each equipped with its own private wells and drainage systems, evidence of an advanced understanding of sanitation and urban planning. In fact, the city's drainage system is one of its most remarkable features, with covered drains running along the streets to channel waste away from homes, something that was not seen in many other ancient cities until centuries later. The precision with which Mohenjo-Daro was constructed is stunning. Its streets are laid out in a grid pattern, with buildings constructed from fired brick. The city seems to have been built with a clear purpose, suggesting a high degree of social organization. But despite its impressive planning, the inhabitants of Mohenjo-Daro left behind little in the way of written records. Unlike other ancient civilizations, such as those in Mesopotamia or Egypt, there are no deciphered inscriptions or monumental texts to shed light on the people who built this city. The only writing discovered so far, inscribed on seals and pottery, remains an enigma, its meaning still locked away by the passage of time. It is this absence of decipherable records that gives Mohenjo-Daro its aura of mystery. Who were the people who built this city? How did they live? What drove their sophisticated urban planning, and what caused their eventual decline? These questions have puzzled archaeologists for decades, and despite years of excavation and research, the true nature of Mohenjo-Daro remains elusive. One of the most enduring mysteries surrounding Mohenjo-Daro is the cause of its sudden abandonment. The city flourished for several centuries, with evidence suggesting a vibrant trade network stretching as far as Mesopotamia and the Persian Gulf. Yet, by around 1900 BC, the city appears to have been deserted. Some scholars speculate that environmental factors, such as changing river patterns or drought, may have forced the inhabitants to abandon the city. The nearby Indus River, which once provided the city with water and fertile soil, may have changed course or dried up, leading to the collapse of the civilization's agricultural base. Others suggest that invasions or attacks from outside forces may have been responsible for the city's fall. But there is no definitive evidence to support any of these theories. Adding to the intrigue, the way in which the city was abandoned also raises questions. Unlike other ancient cities that were destroyed by war or natural disasters, Mohenjo-Daro seems to have been abandoned relatively peacefully. There are no signs of widespread destruction or burning, as one might expect from a violent conquest or catastrophe. Instead, the city seems to have been left almost in a state of suspended animation, with artifacts, tools, and pottery left behind, as if their owners simply walked away. What happened to the people of Mohenjo-Daro? Did they leave due to environmental hardship, or was there some other, more mysterious cause? Even more enigmatic is the discovery of what has been described as a death pit. In one area of the city, archaeologists uncovered the remains of a group of individuals who appeared to have died suddenly. The skeletal remains were found in positions that suggest a catastrophic event, though there is no clear indication of how they died. Some theories suggest that the people may have succumbed to a disease, while others speculate that a violent invasion may have been responsible for their demise. The cause of their death remains unknown, but the discovery adds yet another layer of mystery to the site. In addition to these puzzling questions, the most fascinating aspect of Mohenjo-Daro is the remarkable similarities it shares with other ancient civilizations. Despite being isolated by vast distances, the Indus Valley civilization shares certain traits with the ancient civilizations of Mesopotamia, Egypt, and the Americas. The grid-like layout of the city, the advanced drainage system, and the focus on urban planning suggest a shared understanding of architecture and public health. But how did this knowledge spread, and what connections existed between these distant cultures? Could there have been cross-cultural exchange that we have yet to fully uncover? One of the most tantalizing aspects of Mohenjo-Daro is the enigmatic script that has yet to be deciphered. The Indus Valley script, found on seals, pottery, and tablets, consists of a series of symbols that have defied all attempts at translation. Despite the discovery of hundreds of these inscriptions, no one has yet been able to unlock the meaning behind them. Were they simply a form of record-keeping, or did they contain something more profound? Perhaps a code or even a form of ancient knowledge. Some have even suggested that the script could be symbolic in nature, encoding a deeper understanding of the cosmos, philosophy, or religion that we are only now beginning to appreciate. While Mohenjo-Daro offers numerous glimpses into an advanced and sophisticated civilization, it also leaves behind an unsettling silence. The people who once lived here remain elusive, their lives and thoughts hidden behind the walls of their city. The mysteries of Mohenjo-Daro are, in many ways, like the city itself, carefully constructed, yet profoundly unknowable. As we sift through the remains of their civilization, we are reminded of how little we truly understand about the forces that shaped the course of human history. What truly caused the fall of Mohenjo-Daro? Was it nature's hand, or did something more ominous lurk behind the city's sudden demise? And what secrets does the Indus Valley script hold? These questions persist, unanswered, as the ruins of this ancient city continue to stand as a silent testament to a civilization that, despite its brilliance, remains lost to time. In the end, the mystery of Mohenjo-Daro is not one that will be easily solved, but perhaps that is what makes it so compelling. In its ruins, we are left to wonder, what knowledge, what history, remains hidden just beneath the surface, waiting to be uncovered by the next generation of archaeologists? And will we ever truly understand the legacy of the people who once walked these streets? The answer, it seems, is still a distant mystery, one that may never fully be revealed. As we continue our exploration of the world's most perplexing archaeological mysteries, we find ourselves in the arid heart of Arizona, at the Casa Grande ruins. Rising out of the vast desert landscape, this ancient site stands as a silent testament to the ingenuity of a civilization that once thrived long before European settlers ever set foot on the continent. Today, the ruins of Casa Grande evoke both awe and mystery, an enigma from a time when the Sonoran Desert was a much different place, teeming with life, culture, and the echoes of those who lived there. The Casa Grande Ruins National Monument, established in 1918, is home to one of the most well-known structures of the ancient Hohokam civilization, the Casa Grande, a massive 4-story adobe building that once served as a center of community and governance. The structure, with its weathered walls and large open spaces, stands proudly amid the flat desert, its imposing size almost defying the harsh environment it has withstood for centuries. Constructed from a mix of mud, clay, and timber, the Casa Grande itself seems to emerge from the earth as if it were part of the land itself, intimately tied to the soil and the sky that surround it. The name Casa Grande, which translates to big house, is an apt description of the structure's size. Standing over 30 feet tall, the Casa Grande was once the centerpiece of a thriving settlement that may have been home to hundreds, if not thousands, of people. The structure is made up of thick, sturdy walls, with narrow windows and open spaces that suggest it was built not just for shelter, but for something far more significant. Some believe it was a ceremonial center, while others posit that it served as a place of governance or even a community gathering space. But the true purpose of Casa Grande remains uncertain. Was it a religious temple, the site of ancient rites and rituals performed by the Hohokam people? Or was it a grand residence, housing the leaders of the community in an era when social hierarchy began to take shape? Evidence suggests that the building may have served both functions. Archaeologists have found remnants of tools, pottery, and other artifacts that hint at a complex society with a rich cultural life. The fact that the structure was built to last, and that it was large enough to be seen from miles away, indicates that it had a purpose beyond the everyday concerns of shelter and security. One of the most remarkable aspects of Casa Grande is its architecture. The walls, which are up to 3 feet thick, were made from a type of adobe that has withstood the test of time far better than expected. Despite the harsh desert conditions, the structure has survived for over 800 years, its walls holding firm against the wind, sun, and rain that should have eroded it long ago. Some researchers have speculated that the construction techniques employed by the Hohokam were far more sophisticated than previously thought, possibly incorporating advanced engineering methods that were ahead of their time. There is also the question of the purpose behind the Casa Grande's distinctive design. Unlike most other dwellings in the region, which were constructed from smaller adobe bricks, the Casa Grande's massive walls were created using a technique called poured adobe. This method involved mixing mud, straw, and other materials to create a thick, solid substance that was poured into molds to form the walls of the building. This technique, along with the sheer scale of the structure, suggests that the people who built Casa Grande were highly skilled and organized, capable of coordinating large-scale construction projects that would have required significant labor and resources. Yet, despite the ingenuity of its construction, Casa Grande has also raised more questions than answers. One of the most intriguing mysteries surrounding the ruins is the purpose of the strange circular openings in the upper floors. These openings, which seem to align with certain celestial events, have led some researchers to suggest that the building may have had astronomical significance. Was the Casa Grande used as a kind of observatory, where the movements of the sun and stars were tracked? Or was it a ritual space, designed to align with the cosmic forces that governed the Hohokam's understanding of the world? Some have speculated that the Hohokam people, who were skilled farmers and traders, may have built the Casa Grande as a way to communicate with the gods, seeking to align their lives with the forces of nature. If this was the case, it would explain why the structure was so meticulously designed, with its windows and openings seemingly pointing toward certain constellations or the solstices. There is even evidence to suggest that the Hohokam practiced a form of solar and lunar worship, incorporating these celestial events into their agricultural calendar. However, the connection between the Casa Grande and celestial phenomena remains speculative. No direct evidence has been found to confirm that the building was used for astronomical purposes, and some researchers have pointed to more practical explanations. For example, it's possible that the structure simply had a utilitarian purpose, serving as a communal center or a symbol of political power. The Hohokam may have used it as a place for important gatherings or as a ceremonial space where they could unite the surrounding communities. The alignment of the openings may have been coincidental or symbolic, rather than astronomically significant. In addition to the mystery surrounding its purpose, the ruins of Casa Grande also offer an eerie glimpse into the disappearance of the Hohokam people. By the time European settlers arrived in the region, the Hohokam had already vanished. What caused their decline remains a subject of intense debate. Was it the result of environmental changes, such as prolonged drought or the exhaustion of the region's resources? Or did internal conflict and societal upheaval play a role in their disappearance? The Hohokam left behind no written records to explain their sudden decline, and no single cause has been definitively identified. What is known is that by around 1450 AD, the Hohokam culture began to fade, and the complex networks of settlements, trade routes, and social structures that once defined the region began to unravel. Was the Casa Grande a symbol of a once great civilization now on the brink of collapse? Or did it serve another, deeper purpose, one that we may never fully understand? Even today, the Casa Grande ruins continue to puzzle archaeologists. New discoveries are still being made, as modern excavation techniques and advances in technology allow researchers to uncover hidden layers of the site. Yet, with every new finding, more questions arise. Did the Hohokam really have an astronomical connection to their surroundings? Or was Casa Grande simply a monumental achievement in architecture, a lasting symbol of the civilization that built it? What remains of the Hohokam society, and why did it vanish so suddenly? Perhaps the most enduring mystery of all is why the Casa Grande was left behind. What led the people of the Hohokam culture to abandon this grand structure, this impressive center of their civilization, without leaving behind any explanation? Did they simply move on, as cultures often do, leaving only the ruins as a silent testament to their once great achievements? Or is there more to the story, waiting to be discovered beneath the desert sands? As we continue our investigation into the ruins of Casa Grande, we are reminded that some mysteries are destined to remain unsolved. But as long as the desert winds continue to shift the sands, and as long as the stones of the Casa Grande remain standing in silent defiance, the question remains, what secrets still lie buried in the ancient walls of this remarkable site? The story of Casa Grande may never be fully told, but its mystery is part of what makes it so enduring. As we move further into the unknown, we come to one of the lesser-known but equally perplexing sites, the Dharamrajika prehistoric stone platforms. Located in the vast and largely unexplored regions of northern Pakistan, these ancient stone structures offer a fascinating glimpse into a forgotten chapter of human history. Here, in the quiet isolation of the valley, monumental stone platforms lie scattered across the landscape, their purpose and origins obscured by the passage of time. These mysterious structures, some of which date back to as early as 3000 BC, challenge our understanding of prehistoric architecture and ritualistic practices. Imagine standing in the midst of this arid land, where the sun casts long shadows over the dusty terrain. The air is dry, and the wind whispers through the tall grasses as your eyes scan the horizon. Before you lies a series of large, flat stone platforms, arranged with deliberate precision. Some are aligned with the cardinal directions, while others seem to follow no particular pattern at all. They stand in stark contrast to the natural environment, their angular, purposeful shapes hinting at an ancient design that remains shrouded in mystery. What are these platforms? Why were they built? And most importantly, who built them? The Dharamrajika stone platforms, found near the ancient city of Taxila, one of the great centers of learning and culture in ancient South Asia, offer no easy answers. Archaeologists have speculated about their function for decades, yet the true purpose of these structures continues to elude them. Were they used for ceremonial rites, or did they serve a more practical function, such as marking territorial boundaries or supporting the daily needs of an early civilization? Or could they have had some unknown astronomical significance, like so many other ancient stone structures that align with the stars? The mystery of the Dharamrajika platforms is amplified by the fact that they remain isolated and relatively undisturbed. Unlike other famous ancient sites that have been heavily excavated and studied, the platforms here have been largely overlooked in favor of the more prominent ruins of Taxila itself. This leaves much of the site unexamined, adding to the allure of the place. Some of these platforms are enormous, each one measuring up to 40 feet across, and they are made of massive, precisely cut stones. There are no inscriptions or markings to identify the builders or the purpose of these constructions, and the absence of any surrounding settlements only deepens the mystery. Interestingly, the platforms are not entirely isolated in their design. They are similar to other ancient megalithic structures found across the globe, from the mysterious Stonehenge in England to the lesser-known stone circles of Africa and the Americas. This connection to other ancient stone structures raises the question of whether early human societies were more connected than we have previously believed. Could there have been shared knowledge, or even trade, between disparate cultures in antiquity that resulted in similar forms of monumental architecture? The precise construction of these platforms is also a subject of debate. While no formal excavation has been conducted on the Dharamrajika platforms, scholars have theorized that they were built using advanced techniques for their time. The fact that the stones used to build the platforms are so large and heavy suggests that the people who constructed them must have had a sophisticated understanding of engineering and labor organization. How were these stones quarried and transported to such a remote and difficult location? Was there a hidden knowledge or technique involved in their construction that we have yet to uncover? One of the most tantalizing possibilities is that these platforms were used for some kind of ritualistic or astronomical purpose. Some researchers have pointed to the alignment of the platforms with certain celestial bodies, suggesting that they may have been used to track the movement of the stars or the changing of the seasons. Similar alignments have been noted at other prehistoric sites, such as the megalithic structures at Stonehenge or the ancient observatories of the Maya and the Egyptians. Could the builders of Dharamrajika have shared in this ancient tradition of celestial observation? Were the platforms used for rituals tied to the cycles of the moon and sun, marking important events in the agricultural or spiritual calendar? Moreover, the size and shape of the platforms also suggest that they may have been used for communal gatherings. Some scholars speculate that the platforms may have served as venues for public ceremonies or meetings, where the early inhabitants of the region came together to discuss matters of importance or celebrate significant events. The fact that the platforms are so evenly spaced and laid out in such a methodical manner lends credence to this idea. If they were indeed used for communal rituals, what kind of beliefs or practices did the people of Dharamrajika hold? Did they worship deities tied to the earth, the sun, or the stars? There is also the possibility that the platforms had a more pragmatic function. Some researchers have suggested that they may have been used as platforms for storage or to support the cultivation of crops, though this theory is less widely accepted. Given their location in a relatively dry and desolate region, it is unclear how such structures could have supported the daily needs of a community, but it is worth considering that early societies often found inventive ways to use natural resources in ways that we have yet to fully understand. Despite the many theories and speculations, one thing is certain. The Dharamrajika prehistoric stone platforms stand as a silent reminder of the ingenuity and mystery of the past. The people who built them may have left no written records, but their architectural legacy endures. And with each new excavation or discovery, we move a step closer to understanding their true purpose. But, as with many ancient mysteries, there is always the nagging question of what remains hidden beneath the surface. The sheer scale of the platforms and the careful precision with which they were constructed suggest that they were a significant part of a larger system of belief or cultural practice. Were they part of a larger network of stone structures that once spanned a vast area, connecting different regions of ancient South Asia? Or were they isolated outposts, built for a specific purpose by a small group of people who left no trace in the historical record? As we stand at the edge of these enigmatic platforms, gazing at their silent grandeur, we cannot help but wonder, what knowledge, what history, remains locked away in the stones themselves? What rituals, what beliefs, were enacted on these very surfaces centuries ago? The mystery of the Dharamrajika prehistoric stone platforms, like so many other ancient puzzles, may never be fully solved. But perhaps that is what makes it so compelling. The unanswered questions, the lingering unknowns, are what keep us returning to these ancient sites, seeking, searching, hoping to uncover the secrets they hold. What will future generations of archaeologists and historians discover in the ruins of Dharamrajika? Only time will tell, but until then, the platforms stand as silent sentinels to a forgotten past, inviting us to wonder what remains hidden beneath the weight of centuries, waiting to be uncovered. As we journey deeper into the world of ancient mysteries, we find ourselves in the rugged, untamed landscapes of the Caucasus Mountains in Georgia at the site of the Shaori Fortress. Perched high above the surrounding valley, this ancient fortress has long been a subject of intrigue and fascination for archaeologists and historians alike. Its stone walls, weathered by time and the harsh elements, whisper of a past shrouded in mystery, and its remote location only adds to the enigma. What role did this fortress play in the complex history of the Caucasus region? And more importantly, what secrets lie hidden within its ancient stones? The Shaori Fortress is perched on a high hill, offering a commanding view of the surrounding valleys and mountains. The landscape is stark and awe-inspiring. Steep cliffs, lush green forests, and fast-moving rivers create a natural fortress around the site, as if nature itself conspired to protect the people who once called this place home. The stone walls of the fortress, though now in ruins, still stand tall, their imposing presence a reminder of the power and resilience of those who built them. The architecture, while simple, speaks to a sophisticated understanding of military strategy and design. The fortress was not just a place of refuge, but a strategic point, a gatekeeper to the region below, where ancient trade routes converged. Though the precise origins of Shaori Fortress remain uncertain, it is believed to have been built during the early Middle Ages, around the 9th or 10th century AD. It is often associated with the early kingdoms of Georgia, though some theories suggest that it could be even older. Its location atop a steep hill, accessible only by a narrow path, suggests that it was designed with defense in mind. The fortress's position would have allowed its inhabitants to monitor the movements of anyone approaching from below, providing a natural vantage point to detect potential threats. But while its military function seems clear, many questions still remain unanswered about the true purpose of the fortress. One of the most compelling aspects of Shaori Fortress is its isolated location. Situated far from any major cities or settlements, it is unclear why such an impressive fortress would have been built in such a remote area. Was it simply a strategic outpost for a kingdom that wished to protect its borders from foreign invaders, or did it serve a different, more enigmatic purpose? The region itself has long been a crossroads of different cultures. Ancient trade routes passed through the Caucasus, connecting the Mediterranean to Central Asia. Could Shaori Fortress have been a key stop along one of these routes? Perhaps a place for merchants, travelers, and pilgrims to rest and seek shelter? Or was it primarily a military stronghold, designed to control the surrounding area? Adding to the mystery of the fortress is the peculiar construction of its walls. The massive stone blocks that make up the fortress's outer defenses are tightly fitted together, without the use of mortar, yet they have withstood centuries of wear and tear from the elements. The stones themselves are not local to the area, but are believed to have been transported from distant quarries, perhaps as far as 30 miles away. This raises questions. How were these massive stones transported? And why go to such great lengths to build a fortress in such a difficult-to-reach location? Was it a feat of engineering, or was there something more at play here? An ancient knowledge or technique lost to time? Some archaeologists have speculated that the fortress may have been part of a larger network of defensive structures, designed to protect the people of the region from invasions by the Mongols, Persians, or other neighboring powers. The strategic importance of Shaori Fortress would certainly align with this theory. But others believe that there may be more to the story. Could the fortress have been more than just a military outpost? Could it have had a symbolic or spiritual significance? The Caucasus has long been home to diverse and complex cultures, many of which practiced unique forms of worship and had deep spiritual beliefs tied to the land itself. Could Shaori Fortress have served a ceremonial role, perhaps as a sacred site or a place of power that held significance for the people of the region? One theory that has been proposed is that Shaori Fortress may have had an astronomical purpose. Some researchers have pointed to the fortress's alignment with certain stars or celestial bodies, suggesting that it may have been used to track the movement of the heavens. The ancient cultures of the Caucasus, like many others around the world, were deeply attuned to the rhythms of the natural world and the stars above. Could the fortress have been part of a larger network of astronomical observatories, designed to track the changing seasons or the passage of time? Or could it have been used in rituals tied to the worship of celestial bodies, as many ancient civilizations believed that the movements of the stars were deeply connected to the fate of humankind? While this idea is speculative, it is not entirely without merit. The positioning of the fortress atop a hill and its potential alignment with celestial events suggests that the builders may have had a knowledge of the stars and an understanding of their significance. Yet, no concrete evidence has been found to support this theory. The true purpose of the Shaori Fortress, like so many ancient sites, may have been multifaceted, serving both military and spiritual roles that we can only begin to understand. As we delve deeper into the history of the fortress, we must also confront the question of its eventual abandonment. Like many ancient sites, the reasons behind the decline of Shaori Fortress are shrouded in mystery. Was it destroyed in battle, or did the inhabitants simply abandon it for unknown reasons? The fortress is isolated, and there is little evidence to suggest that it was ever inhabited on a permanent basis. Its purpose, whatever it may have been, may have diminished over time as political and military conditions in the region shifted. Yet, despite its abandonment, the fortress remains a powerful symbol of the region's ancient past, a reminder of a time when strategic strongholds like Shaori played a key role in the defense and governance of these rugged lands. The mystery surrounding Shaori Fortress, like so many ancient ruins, continues to invite speculation. Was it merely a military stronghold, or was there something deeper at play? An astronomical observatory, a ceremonial center, or a focal point for spiritual practices? Could it have been part of a larger network of ancient structures designed to control and protect the region? Or was it a place with a more profound symbolic significance? These questions remain unanswered, and perhaps they always will be. As we stand before the ancient stone walls of Shaori Fortress, we are reminded that the past is never truly gone. It is hidden beneath the surface, waiting to be uncovered. And in places like this, where the stones have withstood the test of time, the mysteries of the past continue to echo through the ages. What we know of Shaori Fortress is but a fraction of its story. Perhaps one day, through further excavation and research, we will uncover the answers that have long eluded us. Until then, the fortress stands, silent and imposing, as a reminder of a world that once was and may never fully be understood. What secrets might still lie buried beneath the stones of Shaori Fortress, waiting for the right moment to reveal themselves? As we continue our journey through ancient archaeological enigmas, we arrive at the arid, sun-baked landscapes of Gobustan, a UNESCO World Heritage Site located just outside the bustling city of Baku in present-day Azerbaijan. A place of striking desolation and breathtaking beauty, Gobustan is home to a vast collection of petroglyphs, intricate rock carvings etched into the surface of smooth stone slabs that have stood the test of millennia. These ancient artworks are scattered across the craggy hills and valleys, some of them dating back to as far as the Upper Paleolithic period, around 5,000 years ago. They offer a glimpse into the long-forgotten world of prehistoric humans. Yet, despite the hundreds of carvings found in this region, much about Gobustan remains a mystery. What did these markings mean? And what role did this strange, remote landscape play in the lives of the ancient peoples who once called it home? The landscape of Gobustan is both stark and mesmerizing, an otherworldly terrain of jagged hills, flat mesas, and wide open plains. The region is defined by its deep, expansive mud volcanoes and scattered outcrops of rock that rise up from the earth like ancient sentinels. The petroglyphs themselves are etched into these rocks, some standing as high as 10 feet tall, their surfaces smoothed by wind and time. These rock carvings are vast and varied, featuring depictions of animals, human figures, and scenes that suggest a connection to the natural world and a belief in supernatural forces. The intricate artwork reflects a rich cultural and spiritual life, and yet, the stories behind these images remain elusive. Among the most striking features of Gobustan are the depictions of large, powerful animals, bison, aurochs, gazelles, and wild boars, suggesting that hunting played a central role in the lives of the people who lived here. Yet there are also carvings that seem to depict rituals, with human figures often shown in elaborate poses, some holding what appear to be ceremonial objects. Other carvings show groupings of figures, often positioned in a circle, suggesting communal gatherings or ceremonies. The question that looms over all of these images is, what were these people trying to convey through their art? One possible explanation is that the petroglyphs were part of a ritualistic practice, a way to connect with the spiritual or supernatural world. Many scholars believe that the animals depicted in the carvings were symbols of power, and that they may have been involved in shamanistic rituals or rites of passage. Could these images have been created as part of a belief system that sought to channel the strength and spirit of these animals, invoking their power in ceremonies designed to bring protection or favor? The repeated motifs of human figures in ritual poses suggest that these were not mere representations of daily life, but symbols of something much deeper, a connection between the physical world and the metaphysical realm. Further complicating the mystery are the astronomical alignments that some of the petroglyphs appear to suggest. A number of scholars have noted that certain images of the sun, the moon, and star-like symbols align with the positions of celestial bodies in the sky. This raises intriguing questions. Could Gobustan have served as an astronomical observatory, used by the ancient people to track the movements of the heavens? Many ancient civilizations believed that the stars and planets held great power, guiding human fate and signaling important events. If Gobustan was indeed used for astronomical purposes, what were the people of this remote region trying to predict or understand? Were they observing celestial events as part of their spiritual practices, or were they attempting to unlock the mysteries of the cosmos itself? While mainstream theories suggest that these carvings were part of a prehistoric culture's religious or ceremonial practices, there are fringe theories that delve deeper into more speculative territory. Some believe that the petroglyphs might not just represent human attempts to understand nature or the spiritual realm, but could have been connected to something more extraordinary, a lost civilization, or even extraterrestrial beings. There are claims that certain motifs within the petroglyphs, such as geometric shapes, spirals, and complex patterns, suggest a kind of advanced knowledge or influence that goes beyond the capabilities of the ancient peoples of the region. Some theorists have even suggested that Gobustan might have been the site of a powerful civilization that disappeared long before recorded history, leaving behind clues for future generations to decipher. These ideas remain highly speculative and are not widely accepted by mainstream archaeologists, yet they persist in the collective imagination of those drawn to the unexplained. Another aspect of Gobustan that piques curiosity is the presence of the mud volcanoes. These unusual geological formations are scattered throughout the region and add an eerie quality to the landscape. The volcanoes themselves, though not eruptive in the traditional sense, periodically spew out a mix of gas and mud, creating a surreal, otherworldly environment. Some researchers have even proposed that the presence of these volcanoes might have had symbolic significance to the ancient inhabitants of Gobustan. Could these mud volcanoes have been seen as a connection to the underworld, a portal to the unknown? Could they have played a role in the religious or ceremonial practices of the people who once lived here, as sites of purification or transformation? Despite the intrigue surrounding Gobustan, many of the mysteries of this ancient site remain unsolved. While the carvings provide a window into the spiritual and cultural life of the people who once lived here, the meanings behind the images are still unclear. Archaeologists and historians continue to study the petroglyphs, but without a written language to provide context, much of the symbolism remains elusive. The fact that Gobustan was a center of human activity for thousands of years, spanning from the Paleolithic through to the Bronze Age, only adds to the complexity of the site. Who were the people who created these carvings? How did they live? And what events or beliefs inspired them to leave these images behind for future generations to discover? Moreover, the mysterious nature of Gobustan does not end with the petroglyphs. The landscape itself seems to hold its own secrets, with some researchers suggesting that the location of the site may have had a greater purpose beyond its artistic or ritualistic functions. Gobustan is strategically placed along ancient trade routes, which raises the possibility that it might have been a meeting place or even a center of commerce, attracting people from various cultures and regions. Was it a site for trading goods, or a place for exchanging knowledge and ideas? Did the people of Gobustan communicate with distant civilizations, passing along their astronomical or spiritual insights to the wider world? As we contemplate these questions, we are left with the sense that Gobustan is a place brimming with untold stories, its petroglyphs and landscape offering tantalizing glimpses of a lost world, but never quite revealing their full meaning. The theories about its purpose and significance are many, but the truth remains just out of reach, hidden beneath layers of time, erosion, and mystery. The ancient carvings of Gobustan stand as silent witnesses to a bygone era, their meanings lost to the ages. What messages did the artists hope to communicate? What knowledge did they possess that has since been forgotten? What role did Gobustan play in the larger tapestry of ancient human history? These questions continue to haunt archaeologists and historians as the enigmatic petroglyphs of Gobustan remain an open book, waiting for the right key to unlock its secrets. The answers may never come, but perhaps in their uncertainty lies the allure of Gobustan, a site that has withstood the test of time and continues to beckon us to peer deeper into the past. What might still lie beneath the rocks and mud of this remote landscape, waiting to be discovered? Only time will tell. After exploring the rock art of Gobustan, we turn our attention to another mysterious site, one that also echoes through the ages with questions that have yet to be fully answered. Located in the quiet rural landscapes of France, the Dolmen de Bagneux stands as a solitary sentinel to an ancient past, its silent stones holding secrets that remain tantalizingly out of reach. Like many other megalithic structures across Europe, it is a part of the prehistoric tradition of building monumental tombs. But what is it about the Dolmen de Bagneux that continues to captivate the imagination of archaeologists and historians alike? What role did it play for those who constructed it, and why does it remain so enigmatic even today? Nestled in the serene forests of the Île-de-France region, the Dolmen de Bagneux is one of the many megalithic tombs scattered across Western Europe. Its massive stones, worn and weathered by time, form a distinct structure known as a dolmen, a type of prehistoric burial site made up of large upright stones supporting one or more horizontal capstones. Standing tall and imposing amidst the forest, it is easy to imagine the awe it inspired in the people who built it. This particular dolmen, a burial chamber dating back to around 3000 BC, was originally part of a larger necropolis, a sacred resting place for the deceased. Yet, despite its relatively straightforward appearance, large stone slabs arranged in a near-perfect pattern, there is much about the Dolmen de Bagneux that is still unexplained. When it was first uncovered in the 18th century, archaeologists believed it was a simple tomb, a final resting place for a prominent individual or family. However, the more researchers study it, the more intriguing the site becomes. The Dolmen de Bagneux is not just an isolated tomb but part of a complex system of prehistoric sites, some of which appear to align with astronomical phenomena. Could it have been used for something more than merely housing the dead? Some scholars have suggested that it may have had a symbolic or ritualistic function related to cycles of life, death, and rebirth. The size and weight of the stones, some of which weigh several tons, suggest that it required a significant amount of labor and organization to construct. Yet, what remains puzzling is the sheer precision of the arrangement of the stones. The exacting nature of the construction, coupled with the presence of other similarly built dolmens scattered throughout the region, raises the question: how did these early communities possess the knowledge and means to construct such advanced structures? Was this just a practice of the time, or could there have been more to these tombs, a deeper understanding of geometry, astronomy, or perhaps even the forces of nature that influenced these people's worldview? In addition to the sheer size and complexity of the dolmen itself, there are several features that have sparked debate among archaeologists. The first is the alignment of the structure. Some researchers have suggested that the orientation of the dolmen may have been aligned with the solstices, pointing directly toward the rising sun at a specific time of the year. In cultures throughout history, the sun has always been a symbol of life, light, and fertility. Could the placement of this tomb be a way of honoring the sun or marking a sacred connection between the living and the dead? Was it built to coincide with important celestial events, perhaps as part of a larger ritual calendar that governed the lives of those who built it? Further raising the mystery is the burial practices associated with the site. When excavations were conducted, a variety of human remains were discovered, but the manner in which these individuals were interred hints at more complex funerary practices. Some remains were buried with grave goods, items that would accompany the deceased into the afterlife. Yet, strangely, the positioning of the bodies and the way they were placed in relation to the stones of the dolmen do not fit neatly within the expected norms of burial rites from the period. This divergence from typical burial practices could suggest that the dolmen had additional spiritual or ritual significance beyond its use as a burial chamber. Interestingly, the Dolmen de Bagneux shares some features with other megalithic structures in the region, such as those at Carnac in Brittany or the Great Dolmen of the Pyrenees. These structures are all part of a broader network of ancient monuments, suggesting that the people who constructed them were part of a larger, interconnected society that may have had a common religious or cultural system. While the precise origins and social organization of these people remain unclear, there are indications that these dolmens served as more than just burial places. They may have been focal points for ritual gatherings, astronomical observations, or perhaps even commemorations of important events in the lives of the community. The consistent use of similar building techniques across a wide geographic area suggests that these people shared a collective worldview, one that likely involved a deep connection with the natural world and the forces of the cosmos. Some of the more speculative theories surrounding the Dolmen de Bagneux point toward its possible connection to ancient shamanic practices or even astrological worship. The precise alignments and the ceremonial use of the site may suggest that it was designed not just to honor the dead, but also to facilitate communication with higher spiritual realms. The large stones themselves may have been seen as a conduit between the world of the living and the world of the gods. Could the dolmen have been used in rituals designed to commune with the spirit world, channeling the power of the earth itself to invoke divine favor or protection? This idea draws on similar theories about other megalithic sites, such as Stonehenge, where the alignment of stones has been linked to the observation of celestial events and the cyclical patterns of the universe. While some of these ideas remain speculative and unsupported by concrete evidence, they do raise intriguing questions about the worldview of the people who built the Dolmen de Bagneux. What did they believe? How did they view life and death, and what rituals were performed to honor the transition between these two states? Were these early communities simply focused on survival, or did they possess a more complex spiritual or philosophical system that sought to understand the mysteries of the world? Despite the many questions that surround the Dolmen de Bagneux, one thing is certain: it remains an enduring enigma. The sheer scale and complexity of the dolmen, combined with its alignment with celestial events and its connection to a broader network of megalithic sites, suggest that the people who built it were not just primitive beings. They were part of a culture with a deep understanding of the natural world, one that may have had advanced knowledge of astronomy, geometry, and the rhythms of the earth. The true significance of the Dolmen de Bagneux may never be fully understood. Its stones, weathered by centuries of wind, rain, and time, may forever hold secrets that we are simply not equipped to uncover. Yet, as with many of the ancient sites we explore, it serves as a reminder of the mystery and complexity of the human past, a past that continues to hold us in its grip, urging us to ask questions and search for answers that may lie just beyond our reach. What did the builders of the Dolmen de Bagneux hope to achieve with their monumental construction? Was it truly a tomb, or something far more intricate? A symbol of their place in the cosmos, an effort to transcend death, or a ritual meant to bring harmony with the earth and the heavens? As we look upon the dolmen today, we are left to wonder what still lies buried beneath its stones, waiting to be uncovered. As we continue our exploration of ancient mysteries that still baffle historians and archaeologists today, we shift our focus to the heart of Southeast Asia, to the Sungai Batu region in Malaysia. Nestled within the lush jungles of the Bougon Valley, Sungai Batu is home to a sprawling archaeological complex that challenges everything we thought we knew about ancient maritime cultures. This enigmatic site, believed to date back over 2,000 years, is thought to have once served as a thriving port at the crossroads of an ancient trade route. But like many other lost cities, its purpose and the people who built it remain shrouded in mystery. The landscape of Sungai Batu is striking. At first glance, it may seem like a quiet, almost forgotten stretch of jungle, but beneath the dense canopy of trees lies a complex web of stone structures and man-made features. As you wander through the site, it is hard not to be struck by the size and the layout of the ancient port system, which stretches across miles of land. Giant stone blocks, arranged in a meticulous pattern, form the remains of what appear to have once been massive docks, platforms, and ceremonial structures. These are the Sungai Batu ancient port structures, an archaeological enigma that raises as many questions as it answers. The site was first discovered in the early 2000s, and since then, excavations have revealed an astonishing amount of evidence pointing to a highly sophisticated, yet little-known civilization. The presence of large stone constructions, some weighing several tons, indicates that the people of Sungai Batu possessed advanced engineering and organizational skills. Yet despite the clear signs of human habitation and industrial activity, the port city's precise function remains elusive. What role did this ancient port play in the wider context of global trade? Who were the people who lived here, and what connections did they have with the rest of the world? Early excavations revealed evidence of trade, with ceramics, coins, and other artifacts, suggesting that the port was part of an extensive network stretching across the region. The most striking discovery, however, was the identification of a system of stone-built docks and water channels. This discovery was particularly significant because it suggested that Sungai Batu was not just a settlement, but a maritime center, an ancient port of commerce and culture, potentially playing a key role in Southeast Asia's ancient maritime trade routes. These trade routes, which stretched across the Indian Ocean, linked ancient empires in South Asia, the Middle East, and Southeast Asia, creating a web of interconnected cultures. The people of Sungai Batu likely acted as intermediaries, facilitating the exchange of goods, ideas, and technologies between the great civilizations of the time. The discovery of foreign artifacts, including items from India, China, and even the Arabian Peninsula, further supports this theory. Sungai Batu may have served as a vital stop on the way to larger ports such as Srivijaya or the ancient cities of Palembang. But despite this evidence of a complex trade system, the identity of the people who lived here remains unclear. One of the most curious aspects of the Sungai Batu site is its stone foundations. While the discovery of large rectangular stone platforms suggests an industrial or ceremonial function, no clear evidence has yet emerged to explain their precise use. Were they platforms for the docking of ships? Or perhaps they were part of a larger system of hydraulic engineering, designed to manage the flow of water for the port's extensive trade networks. Or was the site, like so many other ancient structures, involved in ritualistic or religious practices? One prominent theory suggests that Sungai Batu could have been part of a larger political entity that was at the center of an ancient kingdom. The region's strategic location between the Malaysian peninsula and Sumatra makes it a perfect candidate for a powerful kingdom that controlled regional trade. However, the lack of written records makes it difficult to pinpoint the exact nature of the political and social structure that governed the area. Was it a vassal state or an independent trading hub? Did it belong to the same larger network of states that later formed the Great Srivijaya Empire, one of the most powerful maritime powers in Southeast Asia? Adding to the mystery is the presence of ceremonial structures at the site. Archaeologists have uncovered what appear to be sacred sites dedicated to rituals, which could suggest that Sungai Batu had a spiritual dimension to its existence. Some of the larger stones at the site have been arranged in ways that suggest symbolic significance, perhaps acting as markers of celestial alignment or as part of ancient rites associated with the port. This raises a compelling question. Was this ancient port more than just a place for commerce? Could it have been a center of religious activity, where traders and travelers from different parts of the world gathered for spiritual reasons, as well as economic ones? Despite all the tantalizing evidence, there is still much about Sungai Batu that remains a mystery. The lack of written records from the civilization leaves us with only material evidence to piece together the story of this forgotten port. What's more, many of the theories surrounding the site remain speculative. Some have suggested that the city could have been a precursor to the more widely known Srivijaya Empire, while others have posited that it might have been an entirely separate entity with its own unique culture and customs. One theory that has gained traction is the idea that the Sungai Batu port complex was part of a broader network of trade routes that spanned much of the Southeast Asian archipelago. If this is true, it would suggest that the region's maritime trade history stretches back much earlier than previously thought, with cross-oceanic commerce thriving long before the rise of well-known empires such as Srivijaya or Majapahit. Could this ancient network of trade routes have influenced the development of later Southeast Asian civilizations, or even shaped the maritime cultures of the Indian Ocean? The absence of comprehensive historical texts or records makes it impossible to confirm these theories with certainty. Yet, the existence of such a complex, well-organized port system in the heart of the Bougon Valley forces us to reconsider what we know about ancient Southeast Asia. How many more ancient ports like Sungai Batu remain hidden, waiting to be uncovered by future generations of archaeologists? Could they hold the key to understanding the broader patterns of early global trade, communication, and cultural exchange? And what other mysteries lie buried beneath the soil of the valley, waiting for someone to decipher the puzzle they present? In conclusion, the Sungai Batu ancient port structures remain one of the most fascinating and puzzling archaeological sites in Southeast Asia. Their mystery lies not only in the unanswered questions about the people who built them, but also in their potential to rewrite our understanding of ancient maritime networks. The sheer scale of the site and the sophistication of its engineering leave us wondering just how advanced these ancient communities were. What if the structures at Sungai Batu were part of an even larger, now lost civilization, one that helped shape the ancient world in ways we are only beginning to comprehend? Beneath the sun-scorched desert of modern-day Mexico, an ancient mystery unfolds, a secret buried beneath the sacred grounds of one of the greatest civilizations of the ancient Americas. The sprawling city of Teotihuacan, once home to over 100,000 people, is an iconic symbol of power, mystery, and lost knowledge. Known for its grand pyramids, the Pyramid of the Sun and the Pyramid of the Moon, Teotihuacan holds more than just architectural marvels. It also hides a much darker enigma beneath its foundations, one that still baffles archaeologists and historians today: the liquid mercury tunnels. In 2003, during routine excavations near the Pyramid of the Moon, archaeologists made a startling discovery that would soon send shockwaves through the world of archaeology. Underneath the ancient city's citadel, they uncovered an intricate network of tunnels, some as deep as 30 feet below the surface. Inside these tunnels lay something unexpected: a thick layer of liquid mercury, nearly 100 tons of the toxic substance, filling the tunnels like a strange, shimmering river. Why liquid mercury? What was its purpose in this sacred and enigmatic city? Was it simply an artistic or ceremonial element, or did it hold a far more significant and practical role in the life of Teotihuacan's elite? To understand the mystery of the liquid mercury tunnels, we must first delve into the history and legacy of Teotihuacan itself. The city, which flourished between 100 BC and 750 AD, was an urban marvel, a place of immense cultural, political, and economic significance in ancient Mesoamerica. Despite its size and influence, much about the people of Teotihuacan remains unknown. Who were they? Where did they come from? And why, after centuries of thriving, did this once prosperous civilization disappear? The ancient city was laid out with meticulous care, with its avenues, temples, and pyramids designed to reflect a highly organized society. But even with all its grandeur, much of the city's function remains speculative. Archaeologists know that Teotihuacan was a melting pot of cultures, bringing together people from all corners of Mesoamerica. It was a city of artisans, traders, priests, and warriors, but at its heart, it was a religious center, its pyramids aligned with the cosmos, its plazas built for ritual and ceremony. And at the center of all this was a mystery that continues to haunt our understanding: the role of the liquid mercury. The tunnels were found in close proximity to the Pyramid of the Moon, the second largest pyramid in Teotihuacan, and one of the most significant religious sites in the city. The Pyramid of the Moon, much like the Pyramid of the Sun, was a place of immense ritual significance. It is thought that the pyramid was dedicated to the worship of the goddess of water and fertility, a key figure in the religious practices of the Teotihuacan people. The presence of liquid mercury in the tunnels beneath the pyramid raises the possibility that these tunnels were not merely functional. Mercury was likely used for its reflective properties, and there is strong evidence to suggest that it had a deeply symbolic connection to the gods, especially the gods of the underworld. Was mercury used in these tunnels as part of a ceremonial pathway, a sacred journey into the underworld? Or was it more than that? Was it a substance that had a practical function, such as a symbol of life and death, or an offering to the gods? While many believe that the mercury was linked to the idea of death and the afterlife, some have proposed a more speculative theory. Could the tunnels and their mercury content represent an attempt to create a kind of spiritual technology? A physical manifestation of the gods' power on earth, with the fluid properties of mercury possibly symbolizing the movement of divine forces? In ancient Mesoamerican cultures, mercury was often associated with the concept of transformation. In the mythology of the time, gods like Quetzalcoatl and Tezcatlipoca were said to possess powers of metamorphosis, shifting between realms and between life and death. The reflective liquid nature of mercury could symbolize the boundary between the physical world and the spiritual realms, acting as a conduit between the two. Mercury's toxic and fluid nature may have been thought to represent the fluidity of life, the shifting nature of the soul, and the eternal cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. Some experts believe that the mercury might have been used in rituals designed to ensure the safe passage of the deceased into the afterlife, or perhaps to create a ritual space that connected the living with the gods. In this sense, the tunnels, with their liquid mercury, could have served as a physical representation of the spiritual journey of the soul. But mercury also had another, more practical role. The ancient Mesoamericans, like many civilizations, were keenly aware of the power of metals, and mercury, due to its liquid nature, was likely seen as a precious substance. The sheer quantity of mercury found in the tunnels beneath the Pyramid of the Moon suggests that it was treated as a valuable resource, possibly even a commodity with ritualistic and economic significance. Was the mercury an offering to the gods, or was it perhaps used as a form of tribute or currency within the city? As is often the case with ancient discoveries, Theories about the mercury tunnels range from the mundane to the extraordinary. Some scholars believe that the mercury was merely part of the ceremonial practices associated with the Pyramid of the Moon, a substance used to enhance the mystical experience of the rituals. Others have raised the possibility that the mercury was part of a larger astronomical system, linked to the Teotihuacans' complex understanding of the stars, planets, and the cyclical nature of time. One particularly speculative theory suggests that the mercury may have been used as a symbolic mechanism for something far more advanced, perhaps even something approaching ancient technological innovation. Could the Teotihuacan people have been using mercury for electrical or mechanical purposes that we do not fully understand today? Some have even suggested that the mercury may have been part of a primitive type of energy system, harnessing the power of the liquid metal to generate some form of energy. While this theory remains highly speculative and unsupported by direct evidence, the presence of mercury in such large quantities raises intriguing questions about the level of technological sophistication in Teotihuacan. Still, it is important to remember that these are theories, often based on limited evidence, that push the boundaries of what we know. What can be said with certainty is that the liquid mercury tunnels beneath Teotihuacan remain an unexplained phenomenon that has fascinated scholars, archaeologists, and historians for years. What is certain is that the Teotihuacan liquid mercury tunnels are yet another layer in the complex and enigmatic history of this ancient civilization. As with many other aspects of Teotihuacan, there is still much we don't understand. The relationship between the people of Teotihuacan and their gods, their advanced knowledge of the natural world, and their spiritual practices are just some of the questions that remain unanswered. Could the mercury tunnels have been intended to symbolize the connection between the living world and the spiritual realm? Or did they serve a more practical purpose, one that we simply haven't yet uncovered? Could there be more to the Teotihuacan people's knowledge of mercury and its potential uses than we currently understand? And what other mysteries lie beneath the ground, waiting to be uncovered? As we dig deeper into the hidden history of Teotihuacan, one thing is certain: the more we uncover, the more the city's secrets seem to multiply. The liquid mercury tunnels remain an enduring mystery, waiting for someone to uncover their true significance. What were the ancient builders of Teotihuacan trying to tell us with these strange, shimmering rivers of liquid metal? The answer, as with so many mysteries of the past, is still waiting to be found. Nestled in the rolling hills of Wiltshire, England, just a stone's throw from the famed stone circle of Avebury, lies a much quieter yet equally mysterious site, the West Kennet Long Barrow. This ancient burial chamber, built over 5,000 years ago during the Neolithic period, offers one of the most intriguing windows into the spiritual and ritual practices of prehistoric Britain. Its stone structure, a long, narrow passageway leading to a central burial chamber, has withstood the tests of time, weather, and human curiosity, yet its secrets remain partially obscured. The site is situated in a landscape rich with monuments, mounds, and earthworks, suggesting it was an area of significant ritual importance. The West Kennet Long Barrow is one of the largest and best-preserved long barrows in the British Isles, an imposing tomb that speaks to the deep beliefs of a long-lost civilization. As you stand before the barrow, the first thing that strikes you is its atmosphere. The air feels heavy, almost sacred, and the enormity of the site leaves a palpable impression. It is as though the past lingers in the very stones of the barrow itself, waiting to be understood. The long barrow stretches over 100 feet in length, with a low entrance that opens into a dark passageway lined with massive stone slabs. Within its cool, shadowy interior, there are numerous burial chambers where the remains of the dead were placed, some of them so well preserved that archaeologists have been able to identify the remains of individuals buried thousands of years ago. But what does this tomb truly reveal about the people who built it? Why was such a large and elaborate structure constructed? And who were the people buried here? West Kennet Long Barrow is a passage tomb, part of a broader tradition of monumental burial mounds constructed across the British Isles during the Neolithic period. These structures were designed not only to house the dead, but to facilitate a journey into the afterlife. The barrow's layout reflects the importance of the dead and the ritualized nature of death. Inside the barrow, the dead were placed in stone-lined chambers, carefully arranged and accompanied by offerings, including pottery and tools, objects that may have been intended to aid them in the afterlife. Some remains appear to have been reburied, a practice suggesting a ritualistic care for the dead that extended far beyond the immediate act of burial. The fact that so many individuals were interred here over several centuries suggests that West Kennet Long Barrow was more than just a burial site. It was likely a focal point for communal rituals. This idea is supported by the proximity of the barrow to other Neolithic monuments, including Avebury and Silbury Hill, creating a significant spiritual landscape. Some have speculated that the barrow itself may have functioned as a ritual center, a place where the living and the dead interacted during the sacred ceremonies tied to death and the afterlife. Was it a place of ancestor worship, or a focal point for the seasonal rites that marked the passage of time? What is particularly intriguing about West Kennet Long Barrow is its alignment with the surrounding landscape. The entrance to the tomb faces southeast, toward the rising sun, which may suggest an association with solar movements and seasonal cycles. This could indicate that the builders of the barrow placed a significant emphasis on astronomical events. The alignment of the tomb may have had profound symbolic meaning, representing the journey of the soul or the rebirth of life at the end of the long winter months. Could this tomb have been built to honor the cycles of the sun, an ancient reminder of life's eternal continuity? While archaeologists have uncovered a wealth of material at the site, pottery, stone tools, and animal bones, there is something even more unusual about the skeletal remains. Many of the bones discovered inside the barrow show signs of exposure to fire. Some of the remains appear to have been cremated, while others show signs of having been disturbed or rearranged. The reason for this deliberate manipulation of human remains is still not fully understood. In some cases, the bodies may have been dismembered, and their bones treated in ways that suggest a belief in the power of the dead. Were these rituals intended to communicate with the ancestors? Or was the act of cremation or dismemberment part of a process of ritual purification? The answers remain elusive. While we do know that Neolithic people believed in the power of ancestors to influence the living, the true significance of these practices remains a subject of debate. Were the bodies of the dead meant to be reborn in some form, or were they simply viewed as another stage in the cycle of life? Some theorists have suggested that the people who built and used West Kennet Long Barrow may have had a complex understanding of the spiritual world, one that involved not only ancestor worship, but also a belief in the transference of spiritual energy through the dead. Could the treatment of bones be a way of preparing the deceased for their transition to the afterlife, a purification ritual meant to ensure their safe passage to the next realm? Could the manipulation of remains be related to a belief that the souls of the dead needed to be reassembled before their final journey? As with many ancient sites, the true purpose of West Kennet Long Barrow remains unclear. Why did the Neolithic people who built it go to such lengths to create this monumental tomb? Was it simply a burial place, or was it a ritual center where the living and the dead interacted? Was the Long Barrow a place where people believed they could commune with the spirits of their ancestors, or perhaps invoke the power of the gods? And what of the strange treatment of the bones found within the barrow? Was it part of a larger ritual that we cannot yet understand? The barrow's alignment with the seasons, the apparent care taken with the remains, and the presence of ritual objects all suggest that the people of West Kennet Long Barrow had a profound understanding of the spiritual world. The elaborate nature of the tomb points to a culture that placed great importance on the afterlife, yet their exact beliefs are still largely unknown. Could the ritual significance of the site extend beyond just burial practices? Was there more to this ancient tomb than we currently understand? There is also the curious possibility that West Kennet Long Barrow may have been used for much longer than initially believed. It is possible that the rituals that occurred here had a cultural continuity, stretching across generations, blending with new beliefs and evolving over time. Could the site have been part of a much larger, ongoing spiritual tradition that spanned centuries? Or perhaps it served as a sacred space where new generations came to renew their connection with the past, each layer of burial and ritual adding meaning to the site? Standing at the entrance of West Kennet Long Barrow, one cannot help but feel a sense of awe and curiosity. This is a place where the veil between the living and the dead was believed to be thin, a place where the departed were treated with reverence, and where ritual and belief intertwined. The tomb, with its long passageway and dark chambers, is a gateway to the unknown, its mysteries a reminder of how much we still have to learn about the ancient people who once inhabited this land. Perhaps the most profound mystery of West Kennet Long Barrow is not just the rituals and practices it contains, but the fact that so much remains unknown. In our modern age, we often think of ancient cultures as primitive or superstitious, but the Neolithic builders of West Kennet Long Barrow left us a remarkable record of their spiritual beliefs and ritual practices, even if we cannot fully decipher them. Their tomb, still standing after millennia, serves as a testament to their understanding of the world, a world in which death, rebirth, and the supernatural were deeply interwoven. Is it possible that we will ever fully understand the meaning behind the Long Barrow and the rituals it contained? Or will West Kennet remain, like so many other ancient sites, a repository of lost knowledge, its mysteries forever hidden in the shadows of time? The answers may be lost, but the site continues to provoke questions that will keep archaeologists and historians fascinated for generations to come.